Show number 3, Ray Agliata Show, RayAgliataShow.com, RayAgliataShow@gmail.com. My main man on the other side of the glass, Pico. We don't have any glass. Sitting in tonight with us on podcast number 3, Dan Regan.
How you doing,
Dan?
Ray? Thank you very much for inviting me to the Palace of Agliata.
This is the Agliata house, and we record the podcast in my basement. We're eating a sub tonight. Nice.
Not me. I'm not eating the sub. It's your engineer.
Pico's eating a sub tonight. Last time you ate a sub, I thought it was pretty funny because you put mustard on it.
Yeah.
And I never knew anybody who would put mustard on the sub. But
Really?
yeah, and I'm Italian, so we don't like mustard.
Gotcha.
A couple weeks ago, I did a crash diet where you cut out all bread. And yeah, you start off in the morning with 2 eggs and a coffee. And,
Nice. I could do that.
Okay, it sounds all right.
I could do 2 eggs
So
and a
what I
coffee.
did is I hard boiled them to make it easier
Okay,
because
sure.
I take them, So then lunch, they said you got to do 2 more eggs and tea. You're always doing caffeine, I guess, to boost your
Okay.
get that metabolism going. So yeah, by dinner time, I was probably the crankiest grump.
That's all you ate all day was 4 eggs.
Well, and then dinner. Then you can eat dinner. But by the time dinner comes around,
Yeah.
you're just so pissed off you don't want to eat.
My old business partner had a crazy diet where he drank shakes. He drank Nutrisystem, not Nutrisystem, one of these kind of shake things. Where here we go, he put mustard on this stuff, and whatever it was, and he would drink and he ended up, he was drinking like 5 or 6 Snapples a day, maybe
Yeah.
more, and he totally cut it out and substituted in with these shakes, and he ended up hospitalizing himself
For what?
because he was so used to having the sugar and having such a bad diet that he did like
so
this
his body
all at
just
once.
rejected it.
The body rejected all of this, and next thing you know, he's I'm visiting him, and he was fine. There was absolutely nothing wrong with him.
So he goes to prove, man, junk food is the way to go.
Junk food
Once
is
your
the
body
way.
gets used to it, you can't do that health. So I did it for 2 weeks. It actually worked.
Did you lose weight?
I lost weight. My wife doesn't think so, but
right.
I definitely noticed it. But yeah, crash diets, they're called that for a reason. You just want to crash into a wall.
Yeah.
You're just so pissed off at people. It's just, once you get used to it, it's okay. But it's that first day of just like your body getting used to the
I think you have to
change.
cut if you want to be successful at it. I think you have to cut out all your beverages and drink water. Now I've been 162 pounds for 10 years. I mean, been the exact same weight forever. And if you remember me from high school, I was like 130 pounds. I was like,
Right.
like the strong wind could take me out when I was in high school. But I could eat anything.
Right.
But I have high cholesterol.
Yep.
So
And
go
that's
figure that.
Now you could be 300 pounds and have your cholesterol be great.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that, and I want to kill them because
Yeah.
I have high blood pressure, and it just runs in the family.
Exactly.
Even that. When I graduated high school, I was like $160 like you.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't been $160 since then, but it's been a long time since I've seen that. I don't even know what size 30 waist are anymore, but
Right. Before the show, it was funny because we're talking about diets. But before the show, we were talking about restaurants
Yeah.
and about some really good restaurants that in the Trenton area. All right, so I live in the Trenton area. I'm not going to tell you exactly where, so this way I don't get robbed or shot if I say something
And
that
he
you
does
don't
live
like
in a
to
palace,
hear.
by the way.
Do not live in a palace. We're in
Does-
my
I pulled-
basement.
I pulled up. I was greeted by his chauffeur, and so the grounds crew was like, "Oh yeah, see, Ray live here." So,
You were greeted by my dog, Charlie, right? My wife, and then my son, who wants to be the sound engineer on the program. We're bringing him in as backup. He set up the microphones tonight, so I think he did all right. You know what I mean?
Did a nice job.
We'll see. We'll see how he's doing. But he can't hear all the FUs and everything. He's only 11.
kids know more about technology than us anyway. So
No, you're right. You're right. He's the one who picked out the microphones. But
Yeah.
of course, he has an underlying plan where he wants he wants to have a what's it called show? What is it? YouTube. He wants to have a YouTube show. So where he plays video. I don't know if you've seen this. He plays video games, and these guys will play video games, and then they talk over playing the video
Right.
game, like Minecraft or whichever ones, and then they have these conversations. Who the fuck watches this?
a lot of people.
Millions. Do you really, Pico? You watch this?
Did
Do
you
watch
hear?
this
Well,
stuff?
you know about the whole opening. I think it's like opening eggs.
Right.
you ever hear about that?
I heard about that. I'm not too
where
familiar with it.
I think
know-
it's something like, I could be wrong, but I know there's a woman who I think she opens those. I don't know if they're the Russian eggs. I could be mixing up my shows here,
Right.
but she makes over $1 million a year to open up eggs and
Right.
pull out prizes and toys. And kids
Jesus.
just, it fascinates kids. And she has 1 million viewers at any given time.
Right.
I sit home trying to write original jokes and content, and I can't get 10 people to listen to me.
I think
Maybe I
we're
should
too
open up an
much-
egg as I'm telling a joke. Maybe
That's a
work.
good idea. I think we're too much. We look at some of these people, like we were talking about this PewDiePie guy. We were talking about some other guys, and now with these guys playing these videos, so his goal is he wants to get a microphone on one of these microphones, and his goal is he wants to do like a 15-minute show a couple of times a week, talk about playing a game. But I said, well, what do you talk about? Do you talk about the game? He told me, I'm watching some of these videos. There's this Irish guy that just yells and screams and curses. There's another. Sometimes they don't even talk about the game. They just talk about whatever freaking nonsense that they want to talk about. And these guys are, I guess you make money from viewers or whatever it is on YouTube.
It's just viewers,
crazy.
and the thing is, once you have enough of a following, there'll be sponsors as well.
Right, and they do that all for you.
Little ads that pop up.
Yeah.
That's how they get paid, and that's how they make their money.
Amazing.
But it's crazy.
So imagine how much money YouTube's making. If these guys are making this money, imagine what YouTube's
I just saw YouTube's going in. YouTube has their own TV now, like their own channel.
Yeah.
You can,
Red or whatever the heck it's called, right?
It's like a cable channel now where they get all the latest shows. You get all the premium shows, all the ABC, NBC. It's on YouTube now, so they're going that route. Well, Netflix started that whole thing.
Yeah.
Now,
how smart was Netflix? I was talking about this
Absolutely.
at Easter dinner yesterday. We were talking about how smart was a guy. Netflix was mailing you the CDs or DVDs at one point in time, and then they got into streaming. So imagine a guy at fucking Netflix who said, "Hey, wait a minute, we need to get into like streaming." They must think this guy says they have unlimited resources now. Netflix is like
they were pioneering it.
They pioneered it. These guys
and Amazon followed behind it, and now it's giving cable some issues.
Do you still have cable at your house?
I still do. It's where I live. It's funny. I live sort of near you, so it's not like I live in Kansas, but you would think I did because Fios is not available to us where I live. Yes, and so I'm stuck with. We could do DirecTV or the Dish. We're looking at different things we could do, but cable used to have you by the balls.
Yeah, they don't have anymore.
Now they kind of have you. They still kind of have a hold on you, just not by the balls anymore.
What was funny was we had whatever Cablevision of Hamilton.
Right.
So we had that, and then we switched to DirecTV. And then when we had DirecTV, it was great. And then we started putting Apple TV. So we had Apple TV on every TV. And then we realized we can get this DirecTV now.
Right.
So we save literally hundreds of dollars a month doing this, and we have just a massive amount of like content to watch between Netflix and Amazon and DirecTV now and all stuff like that. I just found it to be fascinating that you could have this much content. I never seen anybody eat a sub that fast, by the way, too, which was fucking absolutely amazing. If I ate that fast, I'd have to shit myself.
It looked like a time lapse video. Like if you just sped it up. Like there was the sub, there was half, and then it was gone.
That was impressive.
I was fucking hungry, man.
You were hungry as shit, huh? Today, long day today. What you do today?
Just fucking sat in front of the computer, worked on this commercial.
Nice.
Just clearboarding shit.
Nice. Work on the day job. That's it. Can I ask you what your day job is now?
I write jokes.
All right.
I'm a writer.
Excellent.
Yeah, I try to. I don't know. I have my what they say my hands in a couple different projects. So
That's good.
I keep it. I try to stay busy with it. So I've had a lot of different jobs leading up to it out of high school. Tried a lot of different things. So. Which I guess is good in a way.
Sure.
I know people that have had the same job since high school, and
I could never do it.
Yeah, it's tough. It's you gotta like change. I mean, you know what? Hey, if you're making a good living doing it, and if you're happy, then
sure,
God bless you. But I would like to change the scenery once in a while. You know?
I noticed, and we were, I was thinking about this a lot too, where more and more you're seeing. I think you're seeing with Mike Rowe and with some of these other guys, kids that maybe want to get into doing some blue collar stuff.
Yeah.
And I have a buddy of mine whose father's a plumber. Mm-hmm. This guy's way into six figures every year. This little plumbing company. And my friend Jeff, who I hope to get on the show one time, he's crazy as shit. It's another guy. He has a heating and air conditioning company. Fucking Jeff is like the man. Mm-hmm. These are guys that have a skill. They honed their skill, and then they're making money. I have an English degree. Right. So I had to go outside of my realm of English degree, and I work during the day for a property preservation company.
Right.
I work with Pico, and I don't think I could get a job with my English degree. Like, What the fuck would I do? I could read shit really well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I could do that.
I could read stuff and give you a report on it.
I could write. I'm a good researcher. I researched for work today, as a matter of fact. I did some researching for work.
I'm envious of anybody that could anybody that did a skill like mechanical or electrician. I envy them guys because I can't do that shit at all. I've tried.
See, I would like that.
And it's nice to have that skill where you could help out your friends do it yourself at home. Every time like a freaking door breaks, I got to call somebody because they're like, you have a vagina or what? I can't even I can hang a picture possibly. Yeah. That's about it. So.
I think a lot of it's confidence too. When I got into doing this kind of work, I owned a bail bond company for like 17 years.
Right.
And it was great. I mean, good money, exciting job. Every day was the same yet different.
Right.
And of course, the state of New Jersey fucked it up and changed some laws around and some rules where now we no longer have bail bonds in the state, and there's another system really? Now the judge has a lot more options to give somebody for that. So kind of put everybody out of business. There's still hangers on guys that are trying to make it happen, and we're going to change the law, but you're not changing shit. It's done. It's the way it is. The government feels they're making more money doing this way, and that's right there. What I said, that's the answer. They're making more money doing it this way. That's really what they're not concerned about.
That's all the bottom line is. It's how can we make more money this way by cutting this, and that's what they did. The option was.
And at the end of the day, I got into doing some of this property repair, property preservation stuff, doing some of that kind of stuff, and I think a lot of it's confidence. Like once you learn how to do it once or twice, and you say, like, now we're doing these training videos,
right? And
I think that's helped to reinforce. Like, how do you put a tarp on a roof? Well, this is how you do it. And I think that's helped to kind of reinforce what I was, my skill set. And some of it I bullshit too. I ain't gonna fucking lie about it. But sometimes, it is what it is. We're all looking at each other like, yeah, that's right.
I think sometimes you have people that might not know 100% what they're talking about, so they kind of wing it.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, I think that's like that in a lot of things where you make the other person feel confident that you know what the fuck you're doing. In the meantime, you're like, I better fucking find.
It's a lot about presentation.
Yeah,
that's how you present it. Yeah,
figure out how I can do it. So, at the end of the day, I would love to see my podcast take off. And I would love to see the Ray Agliata show be my sole source of income. And I would love to actually be able to pay Pico for coming in and
I want gas money.
Doing all this stuff. He's just looking for gas money right now. He ain't even thinking about anything.
Paying him in hoagies right now.
He's paying in hoagies and gas money right now. But he's I'm trying to get. If I had like a dream or a vision, I would like to. I would like to do something.
That's something I've always liked to do too. Is just talk about. The day's events, and I kind of do it anyway now with my jokes and stuff. But,
right. I think your jokes are great.
Thanks. You obviously aren't married to me now. My wife is my toughest critic, but it's good.
Sure.
That she does that. But I know what you mean. It's something that if you enjoy it, it's something that it's not. The cliche is it's never worked. Then
I have the same shit upstairs. We're in my basement recording it, so I say the same shit upstairs. My wife's like, who the fuck's going to listen to this? And then I try to get her to listen to, like, some of the, like, Mark Maron or some of these other podcasts. Yeah. She's, like, 15 minutes into it, and either she has severe ADD, which I never knew that she had, or she's like, what the fuck are these people talking about? Yeah. Like, who cares about living in the woods and what... And I'm like, well, I do. I think it's fascinating, And
some people are into that. Like I could listen to like podcasts if it's an interesting story, like on a radio show. I could listen to it all day.
Sure.
But some people just tune it out.
And she likes Bill Spadia because it's that like it's 5 minutes that on 101.5. I think the guy's great, and then he goes to traffic and weather, and then he goes to whatever.
He hits it quick,
the news,
and then moves on. It's
and back to
like what I was saying before, like a YouTube video. That's why the YouTube videos that are a minute and under are popular. Because people nowadays, it's like quick. I want to see it. I want to watch it quick and process it and move on to the next one.
And kids
especially kids. You put out a 3-minute YouTube video, you're going to lose half your audience.
Right.
You put out a minute video, you might keep them.
Right.
It all depends on the content as well. So.
And I think a lot of people are, that's the interesting thing too. And I was talking to Charles on the last podcast. He's a musician. He doesn't need a record label anymore. Mm-hmm. He doesn't need the guy smoking cigars, the fat guy saying, this guy's good, or hey, blow me for the record contract. Right. He doesn't need that anymore. He can record songs at his local studio or his home studio with a garage band or one of these other programs, and then he could say to himself, all right, I'm going to put this on iTunes. Doesn't matter if anybody buys it or not. And I'm going to start playing some gigs and trying to promote myself.
Right.
Well, easier said than done, obviously, but at the same time, you don't need to have this hope or desire that, I want to be able to do that. Even as a comedian,
Right.
You could put content on the internet and book some shows.
And that's actually how I had a interview one time and then a gig from just somebody saw a joke of mine on Twitter.
Right.
And they contacted me through Twitter and, this and that. And they said, hey, we have a local, I think it was WZBN.
Right. Okay. Sure.
WZBN.
Yeah.
They interviewed me at like a community corner, special.
Right.
So they interviewed me on that. And from that, I got a gig from that. So it's amazing how you don't think someone's watching or listening sometimes, and then the right eyes hit it, and you never know. There might be an opportunity there.
Well, that's the funny thing too. Is I think as an advertiser, and if you want to advertise on a show, of course you can. That's how we're trying to try to make money. But as an advertiser,
Definitely Wawa.
Yeah, you got to hit Wawa. I love
subs.
Wawa, man.
Wawa
Oh my
subs.
God. Listen, that's a plug and a half that Pico eats a Wawa sub before every show. That's a huge plug. I eat Wawa every day. I'm just not to change it.
The only thing Wawa needs, and they would be, I mean, they're already a monster, but if they put in a drive-through.
Oh my God.
Because that's the only thing. I'm a Dunkin' guy when it comes to coffee.
Right.
Mainly for the convenience that they have a drive-through. Exactly. I know it sounds crazy, and I could use the walk in and out of Wawa. So,
right.
But it's just that convenience of, I mean, they already did the gas thing, which is great.
Of course.
You get gas, you have ATM, you have food there. Everything's right there. If they put a drive-through in there, get your gas, drive around, get your coffee, I think they would put some Dunkins out of business.
You know what's crazy is Wawa used to be these little convenience stores. You would just go and they had everything that you wanted. You go in there, you get a snack, you get a hoagie. The hoagies are to die for. Everything's great. Then all of a sudden they start I don't know what the fuck happened. They started sprouting up with gas stations and they've grown and grown and grown to it's almost like and I think it says a lot about society. It's almost like you can't live without them.
No.
You know what I mean? The convenience of I can run in and get a sub.
It became part of your morning routine.
Yeah. I go to Wawa every morning.
Yep.
I go there. I get sometimes I get a Monster. Sometimes I get whatever. I get every fucking morning. I go to Wawa.
And but the old joke, and it's true, is that parking lot though is a nightmare. The one now this is local for anyone that's not local, but the Wawa that just opened by us on 33.
Sure.
It's a super Wawa now, but back a couple months ago, it was down the street a little bit, and it was there since we were in high school.
Yeah.
And the location was great because it was on 33 and George Dye,
where
you can get in either way. But the parking lot, the way it was set
no
up,
parking,
was horrendous.
But now look at the parking. You could sit in the parking lot, and then they keep on building up these corners. That's the other thing too. When you look at your build up convenience stores, convenience. You're all these things that you're doing are things that make your life faster. So you say to yourself, it's well, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Pretty soon I don't have to cook anymore.
Right.
Pretty soon I don't have to do anything anymore. I could stop at Wawa. I can have my oatmeal in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I can stop so and so and have lunch. And next thing you know, you're spending $30 a day on food, which is a whole nother
thing.
A whole nother story, but that's the truth. And it's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we try to make it, my wife and I try to make it where a couple nights a week we have everybody here.
Right.
Now I have 4 kids. Who's got softball? Who's got soccer? Who's got dance? Who's doing this? Who's that? So we try to make it a point
to have everybody at home
and know where everybody is and what everybody's doing and all that kind of stuff. And
you know what? You need that because when the kids get older, they're gonna think back and remember. You know what? It was crazy, but they'll remember the times where we were all together.
Yeah.
You remember that. I mean, we remember, at my age, I remember stuff like that with the family. So,
but our area's changed.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. A lot.
I love how Route 33 says 45 miles an hour. I haven't driven 45 miles an hour since 1985.
No, you're right.
And I started driving 87. So, well,
you're right.
Legally.
Legally, right?
Yeah. But it's crazy, how this area is built up. And I think about Wawa. Let me go back real quick. Mm-hmm. The one thing and it's prevalent in Wawa more than any place, but if you're one of them people that back into a parking spot, just know I hate you.
Yeah, I hate that. I can't stand that.
I hate you because you're holding up more. It might be more convenient for you to pull out, but you're being more of an inconvenience doing it, pulling in.
The only time, and I agree with you, the only time that I was just thinking, actually, it's funny that you brought this up. I pull in head first 99.9% of the time. The only time I would pull in back into the spot is if I think I'd have trouble pulling out.
Right.
For whatever the reason may be. So I have a pickup truck, and instead of, I always, even with the pickup truck, I pull on head first. But let's just say it's a tighter parking lot. Maybe I want to back it, and it's a pain in the ass to back out. When your guy has a Mazda Miata,
which is the majority of the guys that do it.
What the fuck?
That's what I'm talking about.
Maybe it's a big dick syndrome.
Right, exactly. I mean, I get listen, I get the pickup trucks. I really do because they got the bed in the back. I get that. Yeah. But yeah, like you're saying, you have a little sedan.
Yeah.
Why are you backing into the spot? I know this sounds like sour grapes or wah, but it annoys the shit out of me
that's the
people
truth
do
too.
that.
And I think that the craziness of the whole situation is I think that the peace people think that it's normal. So as they're backing up, they're looking at you like, what the fuck? You know, I mean, like they're inconveniencing me.
Right.
You know, I do like the pool. Like if I can, like, the other thing I hate too. I hate people parking handicapped spots that aren't handicapped.
I've never.
That's
done
a whole nother.
Honestly, I've never done it. I don't know how people can do that, and I don't want to sound like holier than thou because I'm sure I do things too that annoy people, but I don't know how you could park in a handicapped spot, get out and walk inside, and not think like, "What am I doing?"
I had a friend of mine who we used to have we have a mutual friend. He used to get the handicap placard from the mutual friend, and he used to hang in a car. And when he'd go see like a Jets game or a Giants game, whatever like that, he'd park in a handicap lot. Right. I'd say, how the fuck can you do that? He said, well, there's hundreds of handicap spaces. And I was like, but maybe there's hundreds of handicap people that want to go see the Jets game. Who the fuck knows?
Right.
But like, how could you do that? And then when you're walking in, like, don't you feel like an asshole? Like maybe people are looking at you like, he looks pretty fucking healthy.
And you know that's what people are doing. When you get out of the car, people are like, they don't look handicapped. You know,
looks fine.
They look you up and down, but yeah, I've never done it, and like I said, I could never. You know, there's certain things that I can't. It's like bad karma. I'm a big believer in karma. So.
I agree with you absolutely. If you and I'll give you a good karma story. Around Christmas time, I was at the CVS, waiting in line. I was getting some last minute stocking stuffers, candy for the kids, whatever kind of thing. The lady in front of me is in line in front of me, and she didn't have enough money to pay for one of these bags of candy. She ended up being a nun. Right, like Catholic nun.
Was she dressed? So
she was dressed.
She was advertising it that she was a nun, or
not really.
She didn't have her "I'm a nun" badge on her.
No, she didn't have the nun uniform on. She wasn't in nun regalia. But it ended like she had when she turned around, she had like the religious pendant on. She had she didn't have the habit on, but she had like whatever kind of part of the costume on. Right. So she leaves to go get cheaper candy. So I said to the guy, how much is a fucking bill? Because before you void it out, and I got to wait here for 5 minutes anyway. And he said, the bill's $17. Said, you know what? Let me pay for it for this lady. Give her the candy. Right. Move on with my life. Lady has no idea that to this day, this woman doesn't know that I did this. A couple of days later, actually it ended up being December 26th. I went to go, my kids talked me into an iPhone. So I'm at AT&T, I'm getting an iPhone, and the guy said, hey, we have a great special today. You can get an iPad for free. It costs $10 a month for the service. Okay. There you go. So I got a free fucking iPad. I got a free iPhone because I switched to AT&T. So a free iPhone, free iPad, and it cost me a total $10 a month for the iPad. Great. And I attribute that to me being nice to this nun.
So do I. I mean, that's absolutely. Duncan's story, going back to Duncan, a couple months ago, I'm in Duncan in the morning, get my coffee, and I pull up to pay, and I have the app, so I got the app ready. Sure. And she goes, she says, the woman in front of you paid for your coffee. So it's the first time it's happened to me where someone paid it forward, whatever.
Pay it forward.
So now it's up to, I'm like, okay. So I remembered that. A couple days go by. I'm like, you know what? I should do it. So I'm in line, and so I pull up to the drive, and she scans my payment. I said, I'm going to pay for the car behind me. What did they end up getting? She's like, oh, that was a family of 5. They got caught. I go, all right, I'll see you again another day. So I just kept on going. So I got to go back and I'll do it one day.
Nice.
Maybe when it's one person buying a small.
How much was her bill? Yeah. Oh, 17. No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, maybe one day when the person behind me has a small coffee, maybe I'll do that then.
That's hilarious.
I mean, I'll do it, but just honestly, it was like a family of 4, and the woman even looked at me. She's like, they ordered a lot. Yeah. So she was even like, if you're about to do that.
Are you sure?
Yeah. So I'll have to wait again. I'll have to pick my spot, I guess.
The funny thing is that I do this every year. I say, where do I spend my money? And one of the things I look at is Wawa and Dunkin' Donuts. And I said, man, I think I spend $1,000 between, fast food, Wawa, Dunkin' Donuts, because we're always on the road for work, whatever. And sometimes my wife will pack me a sandwich, or sometimes I'll muster up the strength to make it happen. Other times I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to eat. The other place that's expensive as shit, and it's interesting, has the best Wi-Fi in the world is Starbucks. Yeah. So I meet Starbucks, I meet Pico at Starbucks to do stuff for work, and they'll sell you like I had today I was at Starbucks. It was really, really good. It was this applewood bacon sandwich with egg, blah, blah, blah. It was like $2.50. Then I got like a lemonade with it, and then it was like $6.
Yeah, I know. The drinks are crazy.
The fuck did they get me for this drink?
Their food is really good. I've eaten their food. I've eaten sandwiches there before, and but their drinks are just outrageous.
You have to say, like, can I have a water with that?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And even then, they're like, that's $2.
Yeah, I think they charge you for the water, right?
It's crazy, yeah.
But I don't know. I didn't really agree with
filtered diet water, so.
It's crazy. I didn't agree with their politics, and I thought for a while I would not, go to not Wawa, rather go to Starbucks anymore. Whatever. But sometimes you're on the road, you need the internet,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
their internet's outstanding. And you say, you know what, fuck it. I don't know what the I don't want to, I don't mind talking about politics. I'm like a moderate.
Right.
So I'm like the mixed bag kind of guy where I like some of the shit that Obama did. I like some of the shit that Trump is doing right now. I like some of the shit that Bush did. There's no real, I think all these guys are bought and paid for.
Yeah, you know what? That's why, I was telling you before we went on, people, it's funny, I've been accused of being a liberal and I've been accused of being a conservative.
Right.
And when I say being accused, it's because I don't discriminate. That's the thing. You can't, when you write jokes, you just have to look at what's out there and kind of it's not because I don't like Trump or I'm a Bernie supporter. It's wherever the joke is, I'm gonna write it.
Were you excited when Trump became? Were you like, oh, this guy's fucking
all comedians were because the thing is, it's not because I don't like the man.
Sure.
It's because. I don't care if you're the biggest Trump supporter. You've got to admit, the guy brings a level of comedy to him.
He's like a cartoon character.
Exactly.
Bigley. When he said Bigley, that day was fucking great.
There's so many things. And think about he was comical before he ran for president. That's a buddy of mine's a big Trump supporter.
Right.
And I would say to someone, listen, I distinctly remember you calling him an idiot when he was on The Apprentice. Right. What has changed now for you because he's running for? So I don't want to get into this whole thing. Like I said, I don't hate the guy. Right. It's just whatever's out, whatever the jokes are. That's where you would do yourself a disservice if you don't write it or comment on it.
I think if you're a comedian, you're like, this guy's a gold mine. Even Obama was a gold mine.
Obama was too. And the thing is, people I don't remember you. I said, well, you don't pay attention. What else is no? It's it's like I wrote jokes about Obama. I wrote jokes about Hillary. I wrote jokes about Trump. I write more jokes about Trump because he is just more interesting.
Right. Hillary's boring as shit.
Hillary's
I know
boring.
we talked about that.
It's tough to get jokes from her, but I've done it.
Right.
And
I don't know what's going to happen to her. They might make her mayor of New York. That's what they're talking about, that she's going to run against de Blasio. And I think de Blasio is a tool as well.
I don't see how you can run for president and then go back to, just being.
She needs to retire.
Yeah, you gave it a shot. I really thought she was going to win.
I was shocked that night as well. I think I think when you looked at the people in the newsrooms, they were like, holy fuck. What's this TV personality is going to be president.
They would read the results as they're going to commercial. You hear them going, are you sure? Like mouthing to the producers. Are you sure these numbers? Are these numbers accurate?
You know what's funny is that, and this goes back to the conversation of what we were talking about earlier. He found a sweet spot. He found this niche of blue collar people who felt separated from. They felt like they were done wrong by Obama, whether they were or they weren't, who knows. Right. But he felt like these guys felt and they needed a change.
Right.
And I think if Hillary would have tapped into that market, she maybe would have. He found that market, and they did that. He probably got a lot of information from whatever those things called, where they create like a profile of voters and they do all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, the Gallup polls.
Yeah, and they do all the polls, they do that stuff, and then they'd say, wait a minute, we need to what's it called? This is the guy we need to target. This is the guy that feels disenfranchised. This is the guy that feels like he's like he's been fucked. Next thing you know, Trump's the winner. Nobody in a million years thought it.
He was, and this has been said before, but it's true. He was the everyday non-political guy running for office that we always wanted.
Right.
Just says it like it is. He's not going to give you the political polish that you heard from all the other. That's why I talk about politics. And I've said this before, and it's a joke, and I don't like saying my jokes because I don't want to sound like I'm preparing. But I would tell people, listen, if you're in a political discussion, if you have to be,
right,
and you don't know what the hell they're talking about, just crowbar in the word infrastructure, because you always sound like you'll know what you're talking about politics.
Right.
Somewhere just go, you know what, the infrastructure.
They need to work on
and
infrastructure.
And then people will like, wow, he's in, but Trump, he never gave you that. You got to remember that. Yeah. But he never did. He never, when he was going around campaigning and doing the interviews, he wasn't giving you that political bullshit.
Yeah.
That, you're just like, oh my, you tune out because it's like, oh, we got to get back to family. The way he would come across is he's an everyday guy saying, bullshit. We got to go after this guy.
I think he made shit up as he was standing on the podium half the time too.
And that's the everyday guy. The everyday guy. I make up shit sometimes, when I'm talking.
I think he just did it. You know what I mean?
I think, and like you said, he tapped into something, and people responded.
Yeah.
Enough where he won. Now you could say, well, they the popular vote, the electoral. Listen, that's the way our country's been run since they started this process.
And they did it for a reason, and they didn't want the people in the middle of the country to feel like they were in states that were less populated. And that's
right.
That's what they did. And Trump, the other thing I think that he did was he learned that system. Whereas Hillary was like, well, I know I'm going to win California, and I know I'm going to win New Jersey and New York. I think he learned the system of the electoral college.
She skipped over states where she thought she might have. She needed to concentrate on the. I don't know. Like I said, there was mistakes made on both sides, but he made less mistakes than she did.
So now this guy gets elected. Every comedian on earth is like jumping up and down, like this fucking guy's like, with the hair and the fact that he's orange. And,
but what's tough now is because they've said pretty much every joke you can about him. You got to come at a different angle now. If you're going to do Trump jokes at a show, you have to come with a new original angle because you can't talk about his hair, can't talk about his skin anymore.
Yeah, because
it's
been
played out.
Yeah,
it's played out now, but. Yeah, but the thing is, if he keeps like last week, you had the mother of all bombs.
Yeah,
now that becomes a new joke. Now
that's a new joke.
That's a whole new joke. It's like the joke. I'm saying my joke, but I said the mother of all bombs. They bombed Syria, and 5 minutes later was criticizing Syria's dating life. So the whole mother of all bombs thing, or or why don't you call more, or something like that.
Sure.
But that's the thing. As long as he's going to produce more jokes, and all politicians do. It'll be fresh. You just got to try to keep it fresh, I guess.
And I guess if you're up on stage, all right. So I've never been a comedian. I've been a musician. I've played countless shows. I've done all that kind of stuff like that. But I've never been by myself. I've always been able to hide behind like my wife, who was a singer in a band, who's definitely a much better musician than I ever claimed to be. She's outstanding. So like if I'm not backdoor. So if I'm not playing well, I can kind of like hide back there. If I like, man, I can't wait for the set to be over because I really got to take a shit. You know what I mean? Sure. Whatever. But if you're a comedian and you're up there alone, and I think that's suffering. And you always hear until we get an actual place to fucking record, Charlie, my dog, will continue to bark every time Pico has to go have a cigarette, which is often during the show.
That gives us the home feel that you need here.
Exactly. So. But I didn't have, comedians don't have anybody to hide behind. Have you ever felt that way? Like, you've done tons of shows. Have you ever felt like, holy shit, like I'm up here naked and like, what's up?
There's shows that like, for whatever reason, your jokes aren't hitting. Right. And it's the same jokes that the week before were going over well. Yeah. So at that point, you have a choice. You can either just cut your losses and get off stage, but if somebody's paying you for a certain amount of time, you
better
can't
keep your ass up there. Right.
Yeah, you have an obligation.
Right.
So then you just have to, I make it sound like it's braver than what it is when I say soldier through it. I don't mean it in any disrespect, but you have to basically, work through it and just do your set and just realize, hey, this is not going to be a good night, and hopefully I'll get some laughs from the jokes I'm about to say, and if I don't, chalk it up to just a bad. And I know comedians always say, like I've heard I've used it too, like, oh, it's a bad crowd. Really, there's never a bad crowd. I don't really respond to that. It just meant that night your jokes weren't on. Doesn't mean your jokes suck. It just means like that night the crowd wasn't into you for whatever reason. So, but yeah, it is. When you first started doing it, you do realize that you're very alone. Now, I was lucky because growing up, I did like theater.
Sure.
I went to Steiner, where we went to. I had this. I went to vocational. We had vocational school.
Right. You went to a vocational art school.
I went to performing arts for my junior and senior year. So that you learn to be on stage and you learn. But again, you're with an ensemble.
Right,
you're in a play.
Were you singing and dancing? You were doing plays.
I cannot sing, but yes, we were doing it. I was lip syncing. I was Milli Vanilli-ing it because I cannot sing. Right. But you had other people, like you said, to fall back on.
Right,
Whereas being up on stage telling jokes, and the thing is, it's your jokes. You're like, at least when you're in a play, you're reading somebody else's words.
Sure.
You're reciting them.
Right.
When you're on stage doing jokes, hopefully they're your own. and I don't have 3 hours to get into that about that'll be another show.
But you write for other people, like you have you.
I do.
Right.
I
sure.
do. I write for other people, for other comedians, and I've written for radio shows,
right?
But it's nothing feels better than a joke that you wrote getting a laugh.
Oh, sure. Whether you said it or if I said it or
exactly,
or whoever a comedian said. See, I'm fascinated to become a comedian. Mm-hmm. I'm fascinated by and I know Pico really wants to get on stage and give it a shot one night. And that's one of his visions. And I have a friend of mine. His name is Ron Snipe. So I hope to get on the show one day. And I like to bring you in to do that show with me. Ron has this thing. It's like, I don't know if it's so called, but it's like RU1 comedy. And my band actually played some of these comedy shows with him where he would go and he would rent a hall. Mm-hmm. And then he would sell tickets for the comedy show. And he would do like dinner and comedy show. And this guy would fucking pack him, a couple hundred people.
Right.
And then he would hire my band. We'd play for an hour before the comedy show. People would come in, they'd be eating, dancing, whatever, blah, blah, having a good time. We'd play the comedians off and on the stage the rest of the night. Mm-hmm. Then as people were leaving, we'd play a song or two. And it was always, it was like an all-black comedy show. Okay. And I'll say it, I'm not politically correct, whatever, all this bullshit. It's an all-black, and we were the white band.
Okay.
So it was like a bunch of white guys, but the music we played was R&B.
Okay.
So we were R&B white band.
Old school, like 80s?
Anything. Any kind of old school R&B. Really could play anything. And then it was an all-black comedy show. So I cannot begin to tell you how many times these fucking guys would try to stump us, like unprepared. And that was great because it's like organic.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like real. And one night I remember one guy said, he goes, well, we got to come up with something to stump these guys with. And he came up with the 90210 theme. And he said, this will be an easy one because everybody's fucking white. And that was like the whole comedy thing. One of the guys in the band and the piano player knew how to play the fucking 90210 theme. We were shocked. We were floored, right? So then the guy comes up and says, how about a Hendrix song? He was trying to trick, whatever. And it was always a joke. And this is why I think people should like chill on the race for a little bit. Mm-hmm. We laughed about it the whole time. Like, who the fuck says a 90210 theme? Because it's an all-white band.
I didn't even know you could play 90210 on the piano.
Who knew? I didn't know. I mean, maybe he didn't play it and he just bullshitted everybody.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, it was getting the whole place like erupted. It was like a mixed crowd. Everybody thought it was like absolutely hilarious. And I think people should chill with like being so fucking sensitive with shit because it's funny. If we all laughed at each other, we'd probably,
like you said, like just yesterday they had a Back to the Future marathon on. I think it was, I want to say Spike,
right?
One of the local, like one of the non-cable channels,
right?
So it had commercials and all that good stuff. And it's funny because I actually had to Google it because I love Back to the Future. We had this place called Director's Chair. It was Last Run Theater on 33,
sure, right?
Where you'd go for $1, and Back to the Future was there for like 2 months.
Oh my God, yeah! I went to that place countless times.
Yeah, we'd go there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, see the shows. So we saw Back to the Future. I don't know, a lot.
Sure.
So I was watching it again yesterday. I haven't seen it in a while, and I noticed the one scene where he's writing the letter to Doc in the diner.
Okay.
And he's reading it back to himself, and he said, he says you'll be shot, and then he doesn't say anything. I'm like, wait a minute. He said before Libyan terrorists, and and it shows the letter, and it says shot, and then there's a big white blank spot next to it.
Where should have said Libyan terrorists?
Yes.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, there's no way so I Googled it, and sure now people the argument is they never originally said Libyan terrorists in the movie. They said Libyan nationalist. I said, no. They said Libyan terrorist. I remember that distinctly.
Oh, my God.
So they actually edited out terrorist because I guess they don't want to offend. Has nothing to do with... when I saw that, I said, you got to be kidding me. That you're going
it's
to...
ridiculous.
You're going to edit out terrorist? The movie was about a Libyan terrorist. Does the movie say that all Libyans are terrorists? No.
No, of course not.
Give me a break.
That's that false argument or whatever. And when I had the bail bond company, one of our trips every year, we used to go to Vegas for our convention. Mm-hmm. And let's be fucking real. There was no fucking convention in Vegas. I mean, there was a convention.
Right.
We attended it.
It's an excuse to go to Vegas.
Yeah, it's an excuse to go to Vegas. We went to the convention for maybe like 2 or 3 hours for the 3 or 4 days that we were there just to kind of like check in and, see what's up. And a buddy of mine, Muslim, great guy. I mean, awesome. You want to learn how to play blackjack? This fucking guy can play. Mm-hmm. He's the man, right? Awesome guy. We were in the airport. We went with a group of guys, but he and I were flying back together.
Right.
And there was another guy who was dressed in, I don't know, the whole Muslim garb or whatever, and the whole thing. And he actually said, we have to watch this guy. This is pre-9/11.
I was going to say, is this before 9/11?
It's right after 9. It's in that
right
time
after?
period.
Okay.
So it's in that, because I remember flying out of the gate with the flag.
Okay.
At Newark Airport, there's one gate where the plane actually took off from, and they have an American flag that flies there 24/7.
Okay.
At this gate, and I always feel like honored to fly out of this gate. So this might have been around that time period, and he didn't want to. He monitored this man, and did not want to. He goes, if this guy gets on a fucking airplane to Newark, he goes, we're not getting on that airplane.
Really?
And so I said, well, this is like one of your people. I may be like having a bunch of Italian guys in race saying, hey, these are your people.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, but see, you don't know what you're looking for. So then I started thinking about that. And I started saying, well, he didn't say all Muslims were terrorists.
No.
But he said that this particular guy, by what he was wearing or how he was acting or whatever his story was, potentially could be an issue.
Right.
So I think people have to get over themselves, because this is another Muslim guy saying that.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
is not like me and you who are like, two fucking white guys from fucking Central Jersey. This is a guy who knows. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's crazy.
And so did he get on the plane?
The guy didn't get on our plane. I don't know where he went, and I don't think anything blew
So
up that day.
You guys got home on time.
We got on the plane, and everything was great. And I had some funny fucking plane stories. We had some times in Vegas that were.
I've never been to Vegas, and I want to go. I think we're going to be going in 2 years. A friend of ours is turning 50, so I think we're going to do the whole Vegas.
You don't even need to gamble.
No.
There is so much to do between singing, dancing, nightlife, shows. Have you been, Pico, have you been to Vegas?
I've been to Vegas twice.
Oh,
Art scene.
They have a good art scene.
Mm-hmm.
We went every year, every February.
Okay.
Maybe I went there 15 years in a row. I went to fucking a lot. And I can remember every year was better than the last year because I knew a little more about kind of like.
Did you stay at a different casino every time?
Always stayed at different casinos.
What was your favorite as far as just the experience, just the whole?
The nicest one I ever stayed at, I stayed at Wynn.
Okay.
And that was only because we had a friend of a friend who had some comps or knew somebody over there. That was like really plush and beautiful, luxurious. I like the Luxor.
Okay.
Because it's like just about at the bottom of the fucking barrel of places that you could stay, but it's really cool. You know what I mean? And it's not old Vegas where it's just like, man, that's a shithole. It's old Vegas.
Like the Flamingo.
Or some of the, right, exactly. Now, Flamingo, a buddy of mine stayed at the Flamingo, and when he opened up his window, and it's my buddy Jason, I talk about on every podcast, the best craps player in the world. He'd open up his window, and right across the fucking window from where he opened up the place was a Donnie and Marie's head on his billboard, and the billboard faced fucking him.
So he had Donnie Murray looking at him when he was doing whatever.
Every morning. That's
got to be one of the most horrifying experiences, having Donnie Murray looking in on you in the morning.
Oh my God. He looked out the thing and he's like, oh, there's fucking giant Donnie Murray. And they were like so close.
The only thing worse is Leif Garrett looking at you at night when you're taking a shower or something.
Oh my God, Leif Garrett. But Vegas is great.
Yeah,
I mean,
I heard
great experience.
I think I might be the only person I know that has not been to Vegas yet. So hopefully that's going to change soon. So.
And it's cheap to fly there. I mean, they've made it now where it's just like they don't need to make money off of you flying there. That once you're there, they suck you dry.
Well, that's why people are like, how can he give us, like when you take a bus ride to Atlantic City? People always wonder how can he give us money to gamble? Mm-hmm. Because the majority of people put that money in and then some.
And then some.
It gives you a taste of gambling.
You don't want to stop.
You just put so they know they got you.
But now they made that when we were younger, everybody wanted to go to Atlantic City. That was like the spot. You'd go down there. Now you can go to parks. You can drive up to Connecticut. They have shit in Yonkers.
You can do it on your phone.
You can gamble on your phone.
That's like, and I have, and it's so convenient that you don't have to. Yeah, back in the day, Atlantic City was the only game in town.
That was it. And you'd go down there and be 6 million fucking people down there, and you couldn't even play roulette. Yeah, break your balls.
Driving back, every majority of the people, and I know you're out there listening. Don't deny it. You were driving home, going, "Why did I do this?"
No, you're right.
You know, everybody's saying that coming home, like, well, never again.
And from where we live to get to Atlantic, there's no direct fucking route. So you're driving like all through like farmlands. It's like 2 o'clock.
Hamilton, yeah. So then once you get to Hamilton, you could do either the expressway or 30.
Right, sure.
Blackford's Pike.
Right.
And, sometimes you switch it up because you want some, let me go this way.
Right.
But, yeah, like you said, there's no direct route to get there.
No.
But now, like, I don't even know how many casinos are left. There's not that many.
They're all going out of business. I don't think Trump's allowed to own any of them anymore. He's done.
But because parks took a lot of their business away
sure.
from like the Philly crowd. Like you said, now they're trying to get a casino in North Jersey built, which was shot down. But now you don't have to, because now you have, like I said, you have it on your smartphone, doing your tablet.
Sure.
You can sit down here and freaking play.
We could play poker and talk on the fucking on the podcast here and never have to leave your house. And that says something too, which is a little scary. But I enjoy, like, I drive by parks almost every day to get to my day job, and I played parks with my band, and I've done that, and I've gambled.
I've done a show there too.
Have you? I was going to ask you that. See, I liked it. I thought it was a good experience. It was always crowded. Everybody was very, very nice, and I always thought that it was a good experience. And they give you an hour off between sets, so you go gamble like a fucking crazy motherfucker, and do all that kind of stuff. And I
they actually rent. Have you been in it lately?
No, I say it's been at least 2 years since I've been to parks.
They added, when you walk in by Chickies and Pete's now to the left, they put in a big bar.
Oh,
so
really?
It kind of took out some of the gaming area, but the bar's nice, and I mentioned Chickies. I love Chickies and Pete's, so to have that right there was great, because you go there for dinner, then you play a little bit, but with us, you're home in 25 minutes?
Yeah, it's not even half an hour away. And I remember, see, they're smart though. This is where parks fucking get you. So as an entertainer, we wanted to play at parks. It was a big deal. So they had a battle of the bands. So I started my fucking 2 years old, and I'm an established musician, played a battle of bands. So we go and we play this battle of bands. And it was great. I mean, top-notch sound guys. Everything was awesome. Yeah. And we end up being like in the middle of the show, and we really experienced band. We killed it. Everybody else was really experienced band too. Total setup. So this band who looked like Van Halen, they were like a Van Halen tribute band, they end up winning, and this other band comes in second, right? We get approached by the lady who's the booking lady for the room, and she goes, man, I really, really liked you guys. Sorry you didn't win. Why don't you come and do the Battle of Bands again next month? So we kind of talked about it, so we had good experience, and it's not like when you play in a bar, you got to lug all your bullshit over there. You got to set up all your equipment, your this. It's not like that at parks. You don't have to bring anything. They have a house system for sound. They say to you, what kind of amp do you have? You don't even bring your amp. Nothing.
Just
as a guitar player. You bring your guitars, whatever, and the guy says, oh, you use a Marshall cabinet? Now, here's a fucking Marshall cabinet. Here's 3 other ones that you can choose from. Okay. We're going to hook you in, and, that's it. Done. So all you got to do is, you walk in with your fucking guitar ready to go. So we said, you know what? It was a lot of fun. We play it the second time. Wouldn't you know it, we come in second place. Right? This is how they really get you. So it's just where I really appreciate you guys are so good. Let me book you on a Thursday night.
Right.
And what do you guys want to get paid for a Thursday night? We usually start bands at like $1,000 for 3 sets. All right. Okay. That's great. You don't have to carry anything again, whatever. You go and you play, oh man, you really did great. Could you do another battle of bands for us? Now, remember, their bar's closed on Sunday. There's nobody. So now you put a battle band in there, and everybody brings, there's 10 bands, and everybody brings 50 people. So they went from 0 people buying drinks to 500.
Exactly.
Fucking people. So then you say to yourself, I'm going to play again for free to get like another booked show to get paid. And that's where they get you. So you play a couple Sundays, they give you a Thursday that you get paid for.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of like where they get you. And they know they got you by the balls. Everybody and their mother wants to fucking play there.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
And it is a nice setup. It really is.
Yeah.
Were you on the top of the stage looking out where the bar
where the bar is? Yeah. 360 or whatever. Is that where the comedy shows are?
That's where it is too. It's for bands. I guess it's not bad, but for comedy, it's kind of weird because you're up on stage and everybody's down below you.
And you're far away from the people.
Far away.
Yeah.
Which took a little to get used to.
Right.
But it's not aesthetically, it was great because the photos you got. Like I had people, snap a couple pictures, and you got the big, the big monitors in the back. Yeah. So they had your face, like you talking. So it was a picture. I think I might have it on my.
Was that the biggest room you've ever played?
No. I've done. I used to do. It's no longer out. It's the Laugh House in Philly. It was on South Street, and that is like I think a 350 person room. So I've done did a couple shows there.
Is that your favorite place?
That's actually was the first. It's sentimental, yes, because that's the first place I ever did comedy for an open mic. I'm not going to go in the whole because I've told this story before, and it's boring. But bottom line is, when I finally got up the nerve to do comedy, I heard about an open mic down South Street at the Laugh House, so I went down there, and did it. And met some contacts that night. And the guy that I met that night, I'm still doing shows with him now.
Wow.
Well, he's a promoter. He's a comedian too, Sean Clay from Philly.
Okay.
And he, I met him that night. I met a couple guys that night. I met some guys that I used to do. I met guys that I used to do open mics with. That it's funny. I see him on TV now.
Wow.
Like there's a guy, Derek Gaines, who he just did 2 seasons of the MTV show. It was like a game show called Broke Ass Game Show, something like that.
MTV has changed so much.
But and I just saw that he was on a TV show. He had a bit part,
right?
It was a speaking part on a show. So yeah, and I've seen
that's big.
Like Mike Vecchione was on Last Comic Standing.
Right.
I worked. I did a show with Monroe Martin, who was on. So it's kind of depressing that these guys have excelled, but
sure.
I'm happy for them. I'm always, people think like comedians are, and some might be vindictive and jealous, and
right.
I wish nothing but the best for guys.
Of course.
I'm so happy when I see like somebody like get. I've worked with so many great comedians that never have gotten the break.
Of course.
And you see guys on TV where it's like, man, these guys could do it. It's just
right.
a matter of like the right eye seeing you. That's the problem.
And it's like when you write a song.
Yeah.
I'm not a big songwriter. I'm more of I could play other people's songs. When you write a song, there's millions of songs written every year that nobody's ever going to hear. That could be the best fucking song ever written.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that guy's just doesn't have the exposure to do whatever.
Right.
Same thing probably with comedy, where if the right guy didn't say it at the right time, when we were playing at Parks, our issues were old. Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm 46. You're the same age as me, right? And
thanks, Ray, for outing me.
Welcome.
But go ahead.
You're welcome. And we had a guy who came to look at he was there watching the Battle of Bands or whatever thing, and then looking to put people in rooms that he's a promoter or whatever. And that was one of the first questions he asked. So of course my wife lies. She's like, yeah. She's like, I'm 36. Whatever. So she lies. She can get away with it. And then the other girl in the band, she lies. Whatever. Our bass player Jose. Now I'm 46. Jose's 56.
Right.
He doesn't look it at all. He's was a great musician. And Jose's read to him. He goes, I'm the oldest one in this band. I'm fucking 56 years old. That was just, you could hear the breaks, like, you could hear the thing.
The record stopping, yes.
Too old. But, I said, what the fuck do we need this guy for? And it goes into this whole thing. But you see, that's a little different than not having a record label or whatever. That you got to know these guys for these rooms. I remember you and I talked in the past. I'm going to go back years ago. When I was reaching out to you on Facebook, we had some conversations in the past about doing a show together.
Yes.
And that's what I've always liked. I've always been fascinated in the business of entertainment, the business of music, the business of comedy, where I don't need to so much be on the stage, doing the show.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind getting some other comedians in a couple of bands or doing whatever and doing that. That's
I would just rather be like, listen, you handle all that. You're in the business. I've booked shows. Like I've put shows together. People have asked me. So I was in charge of getting the comedians together, setting a price, negotiating a price, and all that. It's not that I don't mind doing it. I would just prefer somebody calling up saying, I got a show for you.
Right.
It's here. Just how much? Do you want to do it?
Sure.
Yes. And I'd show up, give me the mic, and I'll talk.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying, too. Some people do enjoy that more.
And it's fascinating. I just look at it like, and if you sell the tickets, there's money in it. You can make it happen. But again, you got to have the room. We talked about, like, a great place in Trenton is the Mill Hill.
Yes.
I don't know how they stay in business, but
somehow
they do. I don't know how the hell they do it. And they have like heavy metal bands in the basement in the Mill Hill, but they had I think they did comedy at one point, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
too.
I think there's been comedy shows there. I've never done that, the Mill Hill, but yeah, I think they've had comedy shows in the past.
So we were talking about the one place that was your first place. What was your favorite place? Like if you say like the not the best show you ever had, but like if you say you're comfortable being there, you're comfortable with
Honestly, I think again, I'm going to say Stress Factory again, not to be boring, but if you want another answer, which I think was fun, and it's just a location, Stress Factory, in New Brunswick.
Okay,
was
and that's still around too. The Stress
absolutely.
Factory. Yeah, that's huge.
There's headliners there every week. Yeah. It's a great place. It's a great location. It's right in the heart of New Brunswick.
Yeah, College Town.
You always have a good crowd. I think I did it twice.
Right.
And both times, crowd was great. I did Helium once in Philly.
Okay.
That was Helium's interesting because it's a tough room.
Yeah,
the crowd was good, but you really have to. Yeah, Helium is not an easy room.
So that would be like if you're heckling me, like, yo, like shut the fuck up. Like, I don't have time.
Well, it's,
you know what I mean? Like, for this shit.
You get heckled enough. Like, I didn't, back in the day, I was at an open mic. I forget where it was, someplace in Philly. And it might have been Laugh House again. I know I'm saying it a lot.
Sure.
I did a lot of shows there. And there was one night, like on open mics, the majority of the crowd usually is comedians. That's
terrible.
That's
terrible.
It is terrible, but it's also good because if you can get a laugh from a comedian crowd, then you know you're onto something.
And it's fun.
So it's good in a way. So one night I'm doing my set and a comedian, I guess to fuck with me, they're like, "Heard that one already?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Are you fucking serious?"
I just wrote that shit.
Yeah, it's like, dude, we've heard everybody's sets 10 times. We do it every week. Shut up.
Yeah, sure.
It's like, yeah. So you get heckled. You can do one of two ways. You can either ignore it, or you can go at them. So I've seen comedians just murder hecklers.
Right.
Basically stop their show. I'm like, okay. And then it's like, all right, you want a boxing match? You're boxing a prize fighter on stage because the comedian's used to, having a heckler, and you might have your throw out your little insult, not expecting the comedian to come back at you. Well, now what do you have now?
Sure.
So it's fun. Like if you could YouTube like comedian owned hecklers, and there's tons of it. It's nice to see the comedians get their comeuppance, get their payback to the hecklers.
Now, who influenced you? Like, to me, like if I was talking about comedians, I like, you always go with your standard guys. I love Jim Breuer though. I think Jim Brewer's fucking great because he has jokes that relate to me, like all the AC/DC jokes and all that stuff with the bands and I relate to that guy, and that's somebody that I would love to see again and talk with and whatever.
Brewer is great. Brewer is a great storyteller.
Sure.
Brewer. I've never seen him live, but Brewer, excellent comedian. My influences growing up, it's going to sound like an old fogey here, but Carlin was my absolute favorite.
He's a legend.
Which Eddie Murphy,
of course.
Eddie Murphy, Delirious, and George Carlin every year. I'm going to get into Carlin in a minute. But Eddie Murphy, Delirious was just phenomenal. Then Eddie Murphy Raw. I mean, you quote it to this day.
Oh, sure.
In my opinion, the greatest stand-up ever. I know people say Richard Pryor, Sunset Strip, Carlin at Carnegie. Everybody's got mine is Eddie Murphy Raw. Only because, like I said, you can quote any part of that, and everybody will know what you're talking about.
Sure, absolutely. There's the one part with Sasquatch where he says
it's been 30 years,
great.
and people still know what you're talking about.
Right.
So the thing I loved about Carlin, I didn't realize at the time, and then you get older and when I started doing comedy, that you respect is the guy put out a new special every year.
Yeah. And
it was an hour.
New material.
So now I don't know if people don't realize putting out an hour of material, to have an hour of material, it's incredible amounts of
massive amounts of writing
and work.
Sure.
And not only did he put out an hour, it was an hour that killed every year.
Right.
It wasn't even like, well, that one. Every year it seemed like it was either just as good or got better.
Sure.
So what he would do is he would take his whole. I still do jokes that I've done since I started doing comedy in my set, and then some comedians do too.
Right.
A lot of big reason too, we're not televised. Once you're televised, you kind of got to scrap it.
Yeah.
But with Carlin, he'd have a whole hour. Okay, goodbye. You know who does that now is Louis C.K.
Right. He's hilarious.
That's why I respect him. So from a comedy standpoint, I respect them guys so much more because they give you an hour and then get rid of it.
Right.
Then start fresh again. And that's such a scary way to do it.
And it's a skill.
It's absolutely. And the guy who we lost last week, Rickles.
Yeah. And Don Rickles was the best insult comedian out there. I spent an hour of my life last week on the day that he died watching when he was on Carson and when he was doing the different roasts.
You do the Dean Martin roast. It's
oh my God.
And then Joan Rivers. So my influences are old school. That's because I grew up listening to them. That's who I grew up with.
And you know what's funny? When you said Eddie Murphy Raw, that's 30 years old. Think about that. Think how I could still remember him with the red outfit.
That was delirious.
That was delirious.
Raw was the purple.
The purple one was Raw, right?
Just as tight and sexy as the red one.
But think about it, like how long ago that was.
Yep. That's when guys thought wearing a whole leather outfit was sexy and cool. That's how long ago that was.
So we're talking about our friends from high school. So let's talk about fuck these guys. Let's talk about this for a second. What's the worst thing they could do? Get pissed off? We're not going to say anything too bad.
I might say no comment to some of these things, but go ahead.
So we were talking about we took a break here for a minute. We were talking about Derek Scheibel. All right, so Derek Scheibel, friends on Facebook, friends from high school, and disclaimer here: Dan and I went to high school together, so
same year.
I appreciate I appreciate him taking time out of his life to fucking come on the show, but there are guys in high school that I thought Derek Scheibel was cool as shit. We were just talking about it in the break where he got up in health class when the teacher left health class, and he just left.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking cool. Ken Ritter was another guy. You remember Ken Ritter?
Yeah, I haven't heard that name in years. I don't even know. I don't see him on Facebook. I don't even know where.
No, I'm gonna tell you a funny story about this. So I coach a competitive softball team. My older daughter is she's a decent softball player. She's all right. So I coach this team, and his daughter is a very good softball player too. So it's like the same kind of network. So I see Ken Ritter at these.
So he's still in the area.
Ago. I don't know where he is now. He joined out of nowhere. He joined the military.
Okay.
But in high school, I remember when he locked it. We had a fire drill, and he locked Mrs. Scott. Remember Mrs. Scott? I don't know if you ever had her. He locked her out of the classroom. She couldn't find a fucking classroom. And I'll never forget some of these fucking stories because this guy was great. I'm like, I would be so scared to do that. I was like so afraid of everything in high school. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking get suspended. My mother's gonna shoot me. You know?
I got suspended. I think I got suspended one time for walking out of class. I forget the teacher's name because I had a big thing about, I had this almost like this OCD about I had to go to the bathroom. Like if I have to go, I'm going.
Yeah, just get up and fucking leave. Right.
And there was one teacher in particular, I don't know if you remember him, Kubanoff.
Sure, Mr. Kub. I remember him, yeah.
You would say, Kubanoff, I call him Kub.
Yeah.
Kub, I got to go to the bathroom. He would, the famous line, can you wait a few minutes? He would say that to everybody. He would never let you go.
Right.
So,
a few minutes turns into the whole class, and then you're between classes.
And I'll never forget this. I know. I'll keep the name out of it because it's a mutual friend of ours.
Right, sure.
I'll tell you when we get off.
All right, that's cool.
This person basically said, "No, I got to go." So he gets up and he walks out.
Okay.
So, and I think I don't know whatever happened to him. So I was like inspired by that. I'm like, well, fuck it.
I'm taking a shit when I want to take a shit.
Exactly. So I forget the teacher's names. I was in another class and he let me go, but this different than Kubanoff. Kubanoff would not let you go. This guy would let you go, would give you a minute.
Yeah, quick, hurry up and come back. Right,
you have a minute. So whatever it did, listen, I did my business. I came back, and it was more than a minute.
Right.
So they said he had his book open. He's writing something down in my name. So somebody told me, he's writing something down. So I said, I raised my hand, and I said, what's going, I said, am I in trouble? He goes, I think he gave me like a tardy or whatever it was. I think it was my third one, so I was going to get in school.
Right.
I said, what, are you kidding me? I said, I went to the bathroom, whatever I said. And he said, well, I told you had a minute. So he puts his head down, so I flip him the bird.
Oh, no.
He picks his head back up.
And you had the bird still
up there. So he goes, I saw that. And he starts laughing. I'm like, what? So I start laughing. He goes, get out.
Oh, no.
Next thing you know, so that's my only time I got 3 days for
really
flipping a teacher off. Yeah, and technically I think actually my parents got it down to 2 because I think they came to the school and said, well, you can't tell a kid he can't go to the bathroom or you can't give a kid a time limit. It's not like I'm taking 20 minutes in there.
You got to do whatever.
I never understood that mindset, but yeah, Kubanoff would say that all the time. Like I think I got in school one. I know I got in school from him one time because he was our science teacher. Let's be clear so people know. So he taught science. I remember going over the periodic table. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, I said, Cube, is there a formula for cum?
Oh, my God.
And he didn't realize. At first, people started laughing.
The classroom got it.
I can name names of who laughed, but again, I won't name names. I got a couple laughs out of it. And he said, what? I go, and instead of just leaving it be, I expanded on it. I said, cum, sperm, spooge, blah, blah, blah. So finally, when he called me, he goes, out. And I got in school for that. Right. I got in school for basically asking a teacher, is there a formula for sperm? It's hilarious. But yet I got 3 days for going to the bathroom. Well, I got 3 days for flipping off the teacher. So
now I got suspended in high school once. I got in-school suspension with fucking Derek Scheibel right? Where we refused to take pool class. Remember we had to take pool class?
Yeah, I got a note.
All right. Well,
I went to that doctor that you paid. Spoiler alert: $20 got you out of pool.
Got you out of pool, right? Exactly. And I'm going to tell you about that story too. And we told the guy's last name began with an M, the vice principal. He ended up being my kid's principal in elementary school too. And
I know you're talking about. I can't think of his name.
Mr. Modica.
Oh,
he was a tough son of a bitch. Was. And I'll tell you, he was tying little kids' shoes in elementary school when they made him the elementary school principal. Totally different guy. And he looked up at me. Anyway, let me tell you a story. So me and Scheibel, we tell the teacher that we can't take pool because we just dyed our hair. And none of the two of us fucking hair was dyed. I mean, this teacher looked at this. She goes, right, well, go down and tell Mr. Modica.
Right.
Right. So we said, okay. So we go down and we tell Mr. Modica. Mr. Modica, we just dyed our hair. We can't take pool class. We're afraid the hair is going to get green. He goes, please tell me that this is your fucking excuse for pool.
Right.
Like, you don't have anything better to say. I'm going to give you a chance to come up with some other better bullshit.
Right.
So we both got in-school suspension.
For that.
For lying to the teacher. We still ended up having to take pool. Right?
In-school suspension was the worst, by the way.
Oh my God,
that was.
fucking
I'd rather stay after class in the classroom because in school you had no windows.
There's no windows.
It's just a wall.
And the period would end. And I don't remember if we were like.
I don't think you could get up. No, you
could
couldn't
only
leave.
get up to go to the bathroom or whatever during like lunch or whatever. And I was laughing. I'm looking at fucking Derek Scheibel again. Like, you know what I mean? It's like the same story.
Right.
But we had guys buying notes from this doctor, $20. Allergic to chlorine.
It's where
or whatever.
It's where Planet Fitness is right across the street.
That's where he was.
That's the.
I remember that.
I remember I called Wyndham like, hey, because my junior, I was not a big swimmer. I never have been.
Yeah, me neither.
So I didn't. And plus, this pool at our high school, you could smell the chlorine from 4 hallways away. You walk into our school,
smart,
right? But you walk into our school, you smell chlorine, no matter where you walked in. And anybody that went to Steiner could relate to this.
Sure.
So I said, I'm not swimming in that thing. So I did it my freshman and sophomore year, but then junior year, I think I caught wind of this doctor.
Right.
It was $20. I walked in. He literally said to me, he goes, what are you in for? I said, I need to get a note to get out of pool for high school. I said, go to Steiner. And he says, okay. And he says, for what? Why? I said, chlorine makes my eyes burn. Okay. And I got out the whole year. I'm like, I will see you again next year.
See you again next year. Thank you, sir.
Yes, you will be seeing me next year. You might even get a little fruit basket for Christmas.
It's some referrals, and every motherfucker is going down. Every kid's going down there, and this one doctor's writing like 30 notes.
And that proves that they didn't check it because you're going to see the same. You know what? At the time, they're like, you know what? That's probably less kids they have to worry about. We sat on the bleachers, watched everybody else swim. So.
Now, I'm laughing because these were the things that we worried about. We worried about like getting out of pool class, watching somebody walk out of class, watching a teacher get locked out of class. These kids worry about different shit now.
Yeah.
I feel like when we started at Steiner, we could still smoke.
Yes.
At Steiner, we could walk outside, have a cigarette, walk back in. Like you could walk to the class, like the outside route. And that stuff when I think we were like midway through. If I remember right.
I don't think when we. Well, I was I still smoking? I think I smoked all through high school, and I think they did stop it like junior or senior year.
And then
where you couldn't do it.
Now kids worry about like legitimate, real issues.
Right.
Whereas I don't remember. I never had a real issue in high school. I mean, I did, and I don't know if other people did, and maybe I lived in La La Land, but fucking kids worry about some real shit these days.
Yeah, like I don't remember like really dealing with like heavy politics and stuff like that. I don't remember really worrying about politics. Who was our president? And not saying that was a good thing.
No,
but back then, we were in the music, sports, whatever, and it's a whole different mindset too. Like I have nephews that. My one nephew, he probably in his like mid-20s now, and I see not just him, but I even say this in my set, like, the kids are just the way it's just different.
It's much different, and much things more to worry about.
Yeah, it's just different. Like the whole sex thing, like
young kids with adult problems.
Yeah, and it's. Remember back in the day, to get a girl to show us her bra.
Oh my God!
It took a lot of work. You had to put in the time. You had to throw in mixtapes. You had to do whatever you had to do.
Start making mixtapes.
Yeah, nowadays it's like, I'll take a selfie of me, and I'll send it to this kid.
It's more promiscuous, I guess, is the right word.
Yeah, and it's not. I'm not saying just the girls. I'm saying
the guys too.
The boys are it's just. But you know what it is? We sound like our parents talking about us.
Probably. Yeah.
Back then. our parents were probably like, well, we didn't see a bra until we were married. Okay.
Right.
I saw Back to the Future. I know how
Sure.
many people
I saw a
back
bra
in
in high school.
Yeah. But
Now I see tits at high school.
exactly. It's just different with social media, with, like everybody has a camera now with their phone. It's just different, I guess.
Right.
But
I look at like where my daughter goes to school. I was involved, and family was involved in a great group in Trenton called Anchor House. It's a home for runaways, kids that want to get out of the house or have run away from the house, and they take them in, and everything from psychiatric help all the way through, just so even a place to stay and eat for the night,
right.
whatever. They have a program in my daughter's middle school where like 30, 40 kids are in this program. Mm-hmm. I find that to be amazing. I didn't even know programs like that existed. Maybe they didn't exist when we were kids. But these are kids that have to deal with like adult problems in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And I find that to be absolutely, they grow up a lot faster. They have more responsibility. They have more things to take care of. You ever watch the show Shameless?
Yes.
I don't know if they're all like Shameless or not. Yeah, I hope not. I can't think about that if they are.
If they were, that's one entertaining Anchor House, I'll tell you, because that show is one of the best.
Oh my God, I've become addicted to that show. I'm in season 4, and
okay. So you're binge watching it?
I've been binge watching it, yes. And the lady Donna, who told me about it from softball, she said, "Oh, you got to watch this show, Shameless." I want to fuck. I don't know what to tell her. If I should thank her or I should say like it's consumed my life.
I started watching it from season 1, so every season I was in. But a friend of mine started doing the same thing, binge watching it, and
right.
just finished. He finished. I think he has it on Netflix. So
it's on Netflix, right?
So he's behind one season now. So they didn't put out season 7 yet, which just ended, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I'm in 4. There's 6 on total of 6 seasons on Netflix. That show's great.
Yeah, and it gets better every year.
It's amazing.
They haven't quote unquote jumped the shark yet.
Right.
You could say that maybe they have. I don't think they have. I don't think it's like I've had favorite shows. Like one of my favorite shows was Dexter.
Okay, sure.
And
my older son's really into that.
Love that show, but by the last season, it was done.
It was done.
With Shameless, they can go another season or 2 at least because the writing is just fresh.
Right. Do you agree with shows that they end like The Wire? I think was one of the greatest shows ever fucking made. Where like 5 years, they could have gone longer, and they're just like, 5 seasons and we're done. Do you like that philosophy?
This might get me crucified. I've never seen The Wire, and I know, and I hear about it all the time.
Stringer Bell. You watch The Wire, Pico? You ever watch The Wire?
Nah, great.
I heard great things. I need to watch it. What's the matter
with you two?
No, I know. It's the one show I have not been in tune with.
The Wire and The Sopranos is like it's like.
Well, Sopranos. I'm Italian, so if you don't watch it, you get thrown in jail. So
that's like your dad asked you, did you watch The Sopranos tonight? Yes, I did.
It's like if you don't say
exactly.
If you don't say The Godfather is the best mafia movie ever, which it isn't.
You don't think that really?
I don't.
See, the opening's outstanding.
Don't get me wrong; it's a great
we like
movie.
Goodfellas. You think Goodfellas?
To me, Goodfellas was the best.
Yeah,
in my opinion. And everybody, no one's going to agree on everything, but
of course,
Goodfellas to me was just it. Godfather, it's epic.
Sure,
which
it is epic. It's a different standard.
Yeah, it's whereas Goodfellas was just like gritty.
Sure.
It was just like, and I don't know.
I grew up with that. Before coming to lovely Hamilton, I grew up in Trenton. So I didn't start schools in Hamilton until the 7th grade. And we always had our connection of people from the church and from whatever in Trenton. And I always, like we talked about these really good restaurants in Trenton that are no longer had to move out, these great Italian restaurants. That was like part of my life.
Right.
We were never involved. We never got gangsters like that, but we knew who were.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you could tell about this guy does this, or this guy runs the numbers, or this guy does whatever. Who knows what these guys really did at the end of the day? But it was kind of like those characters, and it's like I knew 5 guys that were like that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's kind of like how we grew up, and that kind of. I even like the mafia has changed a lot nowadays.
Yeah.
I think Tony Soprano might be one of the last great. Last great mob dons. Make believe whatever
exactly.
kind of guys. Because the mafia's not like that.
Well, let me ask you real quick. We're talking about Sopranos. So I know. How do you think he died?
At the end?
Yeah.
I think he did. Okay. I think he had to. You know what I mean? What do you think?
I do. And I always kind of did. But then I read, I don't know who gave it to me. Somebody gave me an article. And I've passed, I'll give it to you when we.
Sure.
It's long. It's a long read.
Right.
If you're a Sopranos fan, it breaks down that last scene
Sure.
so well.
It leads up to it. The whole episode.
There's no
leads
way
up
you
to
could
it.
read this article and not think he didn't die.
Right.
Because he brings back stuff you didn't even think about. And he, like I said, he goes frame by frame. And
wow.
he has YouTube videos to back it up.
Wow. So this guy actually did research.
It's a long read. I think it was on a blog, but
really?
I'll give it to you. But
I like to read that.
Yeah, and the one thing that I do, Tony foreshadows it earlier in the season when he's sitting in the boat with Baklava.
Right.
And Baklava says, "What do you think happens when you die?"
Right.
And Tony goes, "I just think it goes black."
Right. That's the foreseeing
and that's
of
how it ends.
Right. Now they say what's his name actually knows the answer.
Chase.
That of course the writer of the show, but they played a Journey song at that.
Yeah.
If it's "Don't Stop Believing" or I don't know which song.
Don't Stop Believing. Oh, no, Wheel in the Sky.
Wheel in the Sky. And Steve Perry, I guess, obviously owns the rights to the songs.
So he said, "Let me know how it ends."
Let me know how it ends. And supposedly those are the only two people on the planet.
Right.
I'm going to say that there's three. What's his name passed away, obviously. At one point there was three. Gandolfini passed away. That actually know the answer to the ending scene. Because he supposedly wouldn't release the rights to the song unless he knew. Because he was such a massive fan. I mean, think about it. These guys, this show, it was part of culture.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Steven Van Zandt, he wanted to be on the show. They wrote Silvio for him. Chase wrote it. The character, he didn't have it in there,
right?
And he became one. He was one of my favorites, Silvio. I
love him. I think he's great.
They were all great, but the thing with how it ended, it's definitely like Chase even said it. It's all right there. I don't have to tell you. Do
you think the best shows are shows that mimic culture? Like you could find any of those Soprano guys out there, and I go back to when I had the bail bond company where Stephanie Plum is a bail bonds character, and this lady Janet Ivanovich, and I never met the woman, but she used to come to the bail bond conventions, and they thought in the beginning, oh, let's invite her to all the parties and let's do this and let's do that. Listen, I had a bail bond company. It was in Trenton, New Jersey. My partner's name was Vinny. That's the opening fucking scene.
Yep.
To her first book. So did she come up with that on her own, or did she hear a story that maybe somebody was telling? And eventually they stopped inviting her because I think people started reading the books and saying, "Hey, wait a minute, this is like my fucking story." Right. You know what I mean? I think the Sopranos, you could find. I grew up with guys that were like Christopher Moltisanti, that were like do anything guys. You know what I mean?
I mean, you can relate any of them characters to somebody you might have known a little bit or know well. That's why I think it was such a great show, because they weren't characters; they were real people.
Right,
they were just people. Like Silvio was a little over the top with the way he looked and all that, but for the most part, they're just regular guys.
They were regular guys,
and it didn't show and it wasn't the glamorous side of it all the time.
Right.
Tony, like they showed Tony his wife beater, with his belly out, breathing heavy. It wasn't, it's not always, it wasn't glamorous, and he went to a psychiatrist because he had panic attacks.
Yeah.
So,
and that was that was interesting part of the show. Because a real gangster would never, and he says that like you can't talk to anybody about anything.
You're not supposed to. First, you're not supposed to talk.
Right.
Period. He's talking about his feelings and why he's like that, and his mother, and
She was a great character. Oh,
yeah, I wish.
She reminded me of my grandmother.
Yeah, she was great, and her dying, I think, really changed the direction, because I think she would have been in the series probably a couple more seasons at least.
Now, you guys were saying you never watched The Wire. The Wire is the Sopranos of like urban America. Mm-hmm. So you had guys in there, like my favorite character was Stringer Bell, and Stringer Bell was this drug dealer that he wanted to be more than a drug dealer. Okay. So he was taking all his drug proceeds and he was reinvesting them in buying high rises and doing this and doing that. And he always wanted to be the character that he wasn't, which I thought was, and I can't remember the guy that played him. Top notch. I mean, like the acting was great in the show. Everything's great. But he wanted to be like the developer. Okay. He wanted to be the guy that built the properties. He wanted to be the guy that flipped the houses. He wanted to be like this mogul. All his money were ill-gotten gains. Okay. So, and I want to, as we're talking, I want to look up who played him, because he was outstanding, and that was what I liked about the character, because he wanted to be somebody that he really wasn't. And there's probably a million guys that are out there that feel the exact same way. That are out there slinging drugs or doing whatever the heck they're doing, and they wrote this guy, and that was Idris Elba.
Oh yeah.
Outstanding. I mean,
they
this
were,
guy was
They were
great.
talking about him being possibly the next Bond for a while.
That would be cool.
But then the big flack was, well, he's black. Okay.
Right.
And what's the problem?
Well, I think that would be awesome.
I think you want a fresh take on it. That's why not?
As long as they don't make it Vin Diesel, I'm not a fan.
No.
I'm not. Vin Diesel's Triple X or whatever, and now he's in this Fast and Furious. My daughter went to see Fast and Furious. She said the movie was okay. The movie made $100 million the first weekend.
That movie's a monster. That movie franchise is a monster. It's amazing how I remember the first one that came out. It was just this little movie about racing cars, and it was good. It was entertaining.
Now they brought The Rock. The Rock's a legitimate You ever look at The Rock's app? Yeah, The Rock has an app that you could be like The Rock every day. Ugh. This fucking guy gets up at like 3:30 in the morning. Like he's ready to fucking go.
Well, I'm a huge wrestling fan. Always have been.
Cool.
I see him. I watch all the pay-per-views. I don't know why I'm outing myself here, but so I've known Rock obviously since he broke into WWE. And it's funny because when he left to go to Hollywood, you're like, come on, man.
This guy's never going to make
what
it,
are you doing? You got a good gig here with wrestling. You're never going to. And now it's funny because he's making like $25 million a movie.
Wow, he's huge.
It's crazy. And
it's huge.
When he comes back, the thing is, he doesn't need to go back to wrestling. He does it because he loves it. Which you got to give the guy credit. He doesn't need to do it.
No, of course not.
He comes back as a fake because he even said he wasn't for wrestling. He wouldn't be where he's at.
And he remembers that, and I think that's
which is
key.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that. See, I was a wrestling fan as well for a while.
I know, but then you turned 11, and you moved on.
Even as I was a little older, not too much older than that, but it got to be. I used to like to watch it Saturday mornings, where you had a fucking Bob Backlund.
Absolutely. Yep.
You had Bruno Sammartino Jr.,
Jimmy Snuka.
These were like men amongst men, and then it kind of got so polished and so like
Well, you know what is, they diluted it because you have Raw, which is on Monday nights, it's 3 hours. Then you have SmackDown on Tuesdays, which is 2. It's 5 hours a week, whereas before you had an hour.
Right.
So you got to fill 5 hours a week now of programming,
and it's a storyline.
So you got to basically give a main event match every week.
Right.
But the thing is, there was a demand for it.
Sure.
So that's why they did it, and they're making money. So I could talk. There could be a whole separate wrestling show we can go. But bottom line is, like, to where The Rock came from, where he started to where he is now, it's amazing.
Right, it is. It absolutely, and other guys weren't able to do that, to transcend from it's like a musician who wants to be an actor, or an actor who wants to be a musician. Like, did you ever hear a song from who Dog Star is or whatever, Keanu Reeves fucking band? Who's ever heard a song? No. He's got to stick to fucking acting. He's not even a great actor, but there's something about him that people like.
Yeah, there's something about him that.
Okay, fine. Cool. You found your spot. You know what I mean? You're not a bass player in a fucking touring band.
Well, that's like Jared Leto.
Now, he might be the exception. That 30 Minutes to Mars, that's a pretty good fucking band.
Although, it was just on Saturday night. I don't know if you saw Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I saw it. I thought it was an outstanding movie.
I saw it in the movies. Not a big fan of his Joker, though.
He didn't have a lot of screen time, but you know what? Interesting.
And the thing is, it's not fair to him. It's not fair to anybody that's ever going to play that role again because Heath ruined it. Not that he ruined it. He ruined it for anybody else.
He was that good of a Joker.
You're never going to... He set the bar where you're never going to reach.
He was that good of a Joker. And when you look at... You know who's a good Joker? You ever watch Gotham?
Yes, the kid.
He's in Shameless. He's outstanding.
Cameron Monaghan, I think.
Yeah, I
think
that's right. He's so fucking crazy in the show.
What's great about him is he does it on... And the thing is, they've never called him Joker yet on the show, though.
Yeah, they call him... Jerome, right?
They've never once said Joker.
You think it's a copyright issue?
No, I just think that they're just being vague on purpose. Everyone knows it's Joker.
Sure,
you know, and it's funny because, if you're listening to this, you haven't watched Gotham season 2 yet. Shut it off, right? Yeah. But spoiler alert, right? I've already seen it, so I'm good. I'm good. But when you thought he died originally, you're like, what? Like, he's a Joker. He can't die.
He can't die, right?
So, then they brought him back, and I'm like, now you realize he is.
He had the other guy. The other guy wore the other guy's face.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fucking outstanding when you think about it.
And that actually, they come back Monday, finally.
Yeah. All those shows. And I watch all those shows with my son who you met, my younger guy. Mm-hmm. We're huge Arrow fans.
Yeah, I've never seen Arrow.
And Flash.
Okay.
Outstanding. And Flash, you got to be like, you really need to be like a superhero nerd for Flash. And we watch Gotham. So those are shows we watch. We like this DC Legends of Tomorrow. We just started getting into that. But again, you get into like, well, that's 4 hours of TV a week. The only advantage that you have is that we watch it on the CW app or whatever the case may be. So on a Saturday, we have nothing to do or whatever. You could sit down for a couple hours and have a snack and watch a couple of these shows. And that's outstanding. But we got into all of that superhero shit. And it was enjoyable because they've taken some of these lines. Some of this, we know the Joker's not going to die,
right?
And you know that, but they found a way. Like Heath Ledger took that character. When you look at the original Jack Nicholson,
right?
His Joker was like the Joker, like we all pictured a Joker to be. When you look at the Heath Ledger's Joker, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Jared Leto's Joker, he's fucking nuts, and I think that transcends with all the ha-ha tattoos and all that stuff, and they've modernized that character. What's the kid's name again from Shameless? His name is...
I think it's Cameron Monaghan.
I think so. His Joker is totally different.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's impressive, and it will make these characters live on forever.
Right. And it's the most popular character. I think just as popular as Batman is Joker.
Sure, absolutely.
That was obviously his biggest villain.
Right. Did you watch Batman vs Superman?
Yes.
See, I liked that movie. I thought it
wasn't
pretty good.
bad. I was not a big Affleck fan going into it, but
Ben Affleck's a dick. That's the theme of this show.
But he pulled off a decent Bruce Wayne.
Sure,
I got to say. So I'm interested.
Christian Bale's the best.
Oh yeah, if they could have gotten Bale for it, it would have been.
He turned it down.
Yeah, I know.
They offered him $50 million.
They threw him a lot of money.
He turned it down. He said, "Fuck it."
Yeah, and the three Batman movies with Bale and Nolan, it was just phenomenal.
Oh sure,
because especially. I want to say the Dark Knight.
Right.
It was a movie with superheroes in it. It wasn't a superhero movie.
Right.
It was a movie.
I would love to be Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
How fucking cool is he? You know what
Pretty
I mean?
damn cool.
Yeah.
And he never gets old, obviously.
He never gets old. He lives forever. But
on Gotham, he's a kid again.
Yeah. He's now that kid's a good actor. I like him. He's like the guy that you want to be. So he's got hot women. Mm-hmm. He's got all the money. He's got him fucking the cars.
Yep.
He's got all that kind of stuff like that. And then at night he goes out and he does good.
Exactly.
And quote unquote saves the city. Exactly. And then he comes back to all the hot women again.
Vigilante, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, could you ever now I only knew I knew one vigilante in my life. I actually knew a real life vigilante.
Did you?
I worked at Great Adventure. I worked with a guy and we used to call him Sarge. I don't know what his fucking rank was. He was like a retired military guy. Mm-hmm. Badass. I mean, this guy was like real. So he was retired, nothing to do. He comes in and he gets into the security department at Great Adventure. Mm-hmm. Totally not a fit. This guy was great. He was so squared away with whatever. So one day he came in and he looked like a little kind of bruised up, like his knuckles or whatever. So I said, what happened? What's going on? Did you get a bar fight or whatever like that? And he goes, no. He goes, I decided to rid my neighborhood of drug dealers. So we thought he was fooling around. We said, this guy, whatever the fuck it is. Next thing you know, I guess the police were questioning. I don't know what happened. He was going around beating up drug dealers.
Did he have a cape?
I don't know what the fuck he was doing, but we started calling him. We started calling him Sarge because we're like, oh, this guy needs a super name, a Superman name or whatever like that. This guy's going around. That's the only vigilante I ever met, so I don't really think that they're actually real. He seemed very real to me. He was going around beating people up. But my Great Adventure days, that was the best job I ever had.
Great Adventure.
I fucking loved working there. I would go back there if I could live in a security guard salary. I'd go back to Great Adventure.
My favorite. I think my favorite was down. If you remember, Bravo. The Mexican food
Where
place.
Was that?
It was in Quaker Bridge Mall and Princeton Market Fair.
Yes,
I worked the one in Market Fair when I went to Mercer.
Sure.
I worked at Bravo, and it was one of them jobs where you would go back to.
I liked Mercer
money wise
too. We can't live on $9 an hour,
but it was just a fun gig.
I enjoyed. I liked that. I liked restaurant managing. I liked all that kind of stuff. But Great Adventure was just it was just a cool and I always liked it. And at the end of the day, I had some really, really just good, funny fucking Great Adventure stories.
Yeah.
And I love to get some of the guys from Great Adventure that I worked with on the podcast. And people think we're fucking nuts. But at the end of the day, I think it's fun. You're going to find a job like that, and it's going to last with you forever.
Exactly. And you'll never forget the stories, memories.
Yeah. So. You won't. You absolutely won't. So what are things you're doing in the future?
Right now, I am currently about to go on vacation in a couple days for a week.
Where are you heading?
Heading to Mexico.
Nice.
Yep. It's actually a honeymoon that we put off. We've been married almost 2 years now.
Right.
And at the time, we just couldn't take the honeymoon for her work.
Sure.
So now we're going there for a week and then coming back. I have a show next Saturday. You know what? I don't even have it in front of me.
That's hilarious.
Hold on.
No, take your time.
I'll pull it up. I know it's definitely in Bristol, Pennsylvania.
All right.
And I think it's a private. I don't know if it's a private show. Let me see if tickets are on sale. Hold on a minute. Let me see.
That's funny because we spend some of our days, right, Pico, in sunny Bristol, PA.
Do you?
Yes, we do. That's where our corporate office for our day job is located.
I'll give it a plug. Actually, I'm pulling it up now.
There you go. So you should plug it.
It's going to be April 29, 2017.
Right.
Not that you needed to know the year, but it's going to be. Let me see. Where is this at? It's at St. Anne's Club. It's on Wood Street, 509 Wood Street in Bristol. It's a fundraiser.
I know exactly where that is.
Yep, it's a fundraiser. Doors open at 6, and let me just give.
Now, can you not curse because it involves St. Anne?
No, because if that's the case, St. Anne's not going to be happy with me.
Yeah,
tickets are $35. Purchase in advance. And
nice. And where's all the money go? It goes to St. Anne's?
Proceeds. It's a comedy showcase. It's a fundraiser for the Michael Sherlock Foundation, which I believe Michael passed away back in 2002.
Wow.
So it's going to be myself, Tim Eli, Natalie Levant, Randy Simon Lupo, and Rock Wilson.
Nice.
So that'll be my next show coming up.
Now, how much prep do you do for that? Did you do the amount of prep that like we do for this show, which is really fucking nothing? Or do you like, all right, so I'm not a comedian.
Mm-hmm.
I know that when I was a musician and I was really playing a lot, I was like, okay, well, we'll make the set list for Friday night. I know how to play this, I know how to play this, and this. Oh, this is like a newer song. Let me run through that. Do you do the same thing? Like, do you have show prep that you have to do like that?
There's jokes that I do every show, so I know I'm going to do them. And then depending on the crowd, the age, just different, the demographic, even where it's at, it'll depend. And I have a list of jokes that I'll do accordingly. Like I have young jokes or old jokes or whatever for an older crowd.
Sure.
So, and I'll put them in. But then like I said, then there's jokes I do for no matter who the crowd is.
Right.
It'll kind of hopefully work for whoever's sitting in the crowd.
That's a blue collar area, so you could probably do some good blue collar.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mostly work pretty clean for the most part. I'll curse once in a while, but I'm not overly like graphic and. Just because it's easier to do that, to transition. So let's say someone's like, hey, we got we have a show at a place where you really can't curse. I'm not even sitting there going, well, I only got 5 minutes of material now.
Sitting there going, fuck.
Exactly. What I only have, and there's comedians that can't.
Sure. Because that's such part of their shtick and what they do. Sure.
So that's why I try to keep it clean so I can do either one. And, so there's definitely jokes that I use all the time. And then honestly, I think I've looked at the set that I'm doing, and I'm probably going to go with the same set that I did recently down in South Jersey, which was for like a country club. Okay. So
did you do? There actually is the thought of what am I looking at? Who's going to be in the crowd? It is St. Anne's. Am I cursing up a storm?
You don't want to go too crazy with it because you don't want to start overthinking it.
Sure. You want to be fresh too. You want to be fresh. Time.
And then I usually try to do like a couple current event jokes when I go up there, like some stuff I've never even done. But then I might ad lib a little bit as well, which I like to do. Like depending on what's around, like the country club I did recently was in the middle of nowhere. Sure. But it looked like there was like a big mill, and it reminded me of Flashdance. So I made a comment about Flashdance, and the crowd kind of And then I said something about the name of the place was Sakima.
Oh, nice.
And Sakima Country Club, and there wasn't one black person in the crowd.
Oh, my Lord.
So I said Sakima, that's the Indian name for paleface, which is all you people, apparently. No, I don't mean paleface India, I mean the white people.
Right.
So stuff like that.
Did they respond to it? Yeah, you got to go with
so, like stuff like that, like you just come off the cuff with a lot of the other comedians did the same thing. Yeah. They'll come up and those, so you do like 5 minutes of just like ad-lib stuff, and then you have your set. So.
Sure. And the prep is important, and you want to go. Now we also share another thing in common, you and I, and we are major Yankee fans. Mm-hmm. So here's a good thing about where we live: Yankee Stadium's really not that far away. Have you been to the new Yankee Stadium?
Oh yeah, we go 5-6 times a year.
All right, so I've never been to the new Yankee Stadium yet. I'm a massive Yankee fan. Never been in a new stadium yet. I went to the old stadium in the final year, and I've been to the old stadium many times, and I think that I have like a depression that I'm not prepared. I wasn't prepared to go to the new stadium yet. Now I'm like fucking over it. The other thing that I think is cool is we live right around the corner from the Trenton Thunder.
Right.
That's the minor league Yankees. How many great Yankees have you seen at Trenton
saw,
Thunder? You know
who did I see there? Did I see Jeter? Yeah, we saw Jeter.
Sure.
Saw Jeter there. Saw
A-Rod's played down there.
I didn't see A-Rod there. I saw Bernie there, I think.
Yeah.
I saw a couple Yankees. But it's nice when they're rehabbing, they go through there.
Sure.
Of course, they always have
the young guys
crowds
coming
there.
up.
Yeah, the crowds coming, like the Torres. I just saw their number one prospect, Torres. They got from the Cubs.
Right.
They're actually selling his jersey, which they've never sold an actual player's jersey in the store.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
It's always just been like a random, like what's the word?
A random Trenton Thunder number.
Yeah, just a general
like
jersey.
that.
But they're selling his jersey with his name on it.
That's
That's
cool.
how high the organization's thinking of this kid.
Now I've been to countless games at the Trenton Thunder, and one of the things that was really cool is they've had like softball night, where you could bring your team. They let you walk around on the field, and then you do the national anthem. The kids get to stand on the field next to a player,
Right.
and national anthem. And my daughter actually, I believe she stood next to Aaron Judge,
Okay.
right? Is that same Aaron?
So she came up to his knees.
So yeah, so he's like 6'9", right? And now listen, you get to see a player like that at the Trenton Thunder, which you're like really close to seeing these guys. You know what I mean? It's so hokey and like hometownish because now you're walking around you're not allowed to walk on the grass, but you're
Right.
allowed to walk on the because God for fucking bed, right? But you walk around the track around the thing. And it's just like neat. You're never going to see that guy again.
No.
He's at Yankee Stadium. He's hit like 4 home runs in the first 7 games. That guy's done.
Yeah.
He's not going to recognize you, and all you could do is like hold him in rarefied
But you have
air.
that memory of being on the field standing next to him.
And I think that that's really neat. The Yankees did something in the past, and I don't think they have the eye of the tiger anymore. I'm a little concerned about as a Yankee fan. I'll say this to you: when George Steinbrenner was there, it was a win at all cost. Whether he was yelling at Billy Martin or doing it, but towards the end of his, I guess in the 90s, it was a win at all fucking cost because he knew that he was like every year he was that close to winning or he won and then he had to repeat to get the feeling again. I don't know if the Yankees have that anymore. I don't think the kids have that.
The Suns.
Yeah.
The Suns treat it as a business. And listen, I like the fact that they kept the kids, that they didn't get rid of them because you need it. If you look at any successful franchise, you got to bring up your prospects. You're not going to win it just with free agents.
So the core 4 was that great insight on the part of George Steinbrenner and management.
Gene Michael.
George
wanted to trade Jeter.
Yeah, George didn't want to trade Jeter, right?
George also wanted to trade Mariano. They almost did. They had an offer on the table when Tony Fernandez, the shortstop, went down for the Yankees.
Right.
They needed a shortstop. And I forget who it was. Seattle was offering their shortstop for.
It wasn't A-Rod at the time, though, right?
No, it wasn't A-Rod. I forget who it was, but they were offering the Yankees him for Mariano, who wasn't Mariano yet.
Right, sure.
And I believe, I could be wrong, but it wasn't Jeter. It was somebody else, but still. Imagine George did that trade.
Yeah.
Gene Michaels blocked it.
Thank God.
George wanted to do it.
Could you imagine Mariano playing
the
somebody
Mariners.
else? And he might not have ever been
Might
that
not have
good.
been Mariano because he might not have had the save opportunities.
The thing that I always laugh about is the biggest ass of everybody's fucking John Wetland.
Yes.
Okay, so you're John Wetland. You win the World Series, right? Your setup man, your fucking setup man is Mariano Rivera. He's your setup man. They want you to be the closer again next year. They're like, all right, we want to repeat the same thing again. All right, so Mariano, you're going to do the 7th and the 8th. Wetland, you're going to come in. John Wetland gets in his ass. I guess he went to play for the Texas. I forget where he went. The Texas Rangers. I don't remember.
For the Rangers.
All right.
Well, you also had Mike Stanton as your 8th inning man.
Mike Stanton was
your 7th
inning man.
So you had Stanton, Rivera, Wetland.
Right. Unstoppable.
Right.
What the fuck was he thinking?
Money.
All money.
It's
and
all
we
money.
talked about Robinson Cano prior to the show. It's the same situation. The dumbest thing Robinson Cano did, what were the Yankees offering? $50 million instead of $60? I mean, we're talking about.
It wasn't a lot, but see, Cano, I loved Cano when he first came up.
Sure.
He was one of my favorite players, but over the years, you saw him dogging it.
Yeah, he was a lazy player.
Lazy player, and when you're playing with guys like Jeter, and whether you love or hate A-Rod, you can't question his work ethic. The guys always brought it. So you'd have guys like A-Rod and Jeter on your case about, you got to run out every ground
ball.
So
Jeter did.
Right. So for Cano not to do that,
right,
and sign with Seattle, the first thing I said is, okay, Cano on his walk year with the Yankees was dogging grounders to first.
Sure.
He signed a 10-year deal with Seattle. You think in year 3, if Cano's in a slump, what's the incentive to him to take extra BP?
None. He wasn't going to do it when he
wasn't going to do it when he was on his walk year when you need to make the most money.
All right.
So good luck with that, Seattle, because you're going to pay for that contract in year 6.
And that was all Jay-Z, and now Jay-Z's a sports. I don't know if Jay-Z's still a sports agent. If that was just a passing fad for him to be a sports agent,
because he was bored
like
he was bored with making millions with his records.
So he decided to be a sports agent. And if I am Robinson Cano, you have to think to yourself, do you want to be on a championship team or a team that has potential? Or Seattle does not have it. Seattle to this day doesn't have the potential. I don't think to win a championship. I don't even know what place they're in. I don't follow a lot of West Coast baseball too much.
They're not starting off good. They have a losing record right now.
So and then you look at that, and it's like, well, he would have been. Who knows what would have happened? I like this Starlin Castro guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he has the potential to be a good player, but you have to say to yourself, like, is it worth it? Now, we're talking about Bryce Harper on the radio this morning, all right? And Bryce Harper, they're saying that Bryce Harper may come and play for the Yankees, 10 years, $40 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Yep.
Bryce Harper, though, is a game changer.
Right. I would rather have Mike Trout, which
I'd rather have
you're
Mike
not
Trout,
going to get.
You're not getting him,
I think he's going to the Phillies, to be honest with you.
And that would be interesting if Mike Trout went to the Phillies.
He's from Millville. He was a Phillies fan. They said he was a Yankee fan growing up. I heard that Millville's close to Philly.
Yeah.
And I could see him, especially depending on where the Phillies are, because he's going to be a free agent at 29.
Yeah. He has a lot of years left.
29 is when guys come into their prime.
Yeah.
He's already going to have 8 years in the league, in the majors.
He started playing when he was, 20? I think he came up, right? Yeah.
So at 29, Trout will be the biggest free agent signing. If, God forbid, he doesn't get hurt. If he continues to wait.
But the Phillies don't have pitching either. And that's where you get into, and even the Yankees. Yankees have Pineda.
Mm-hmm.
I like Pineda, but again, Pineda is one of these guys that strikes me as a lazy fucking guy. I might be wrong, but he strikes me as
it all depends on which one you're getting. Like the last 2 starts, he was phenomenal. I mean, he had a perfect game in the 7th.
And the other one, CeCe's 100 years old. Love him to death, but he's
pitching well because he gained the weight back.
He gained the weight
back. I think he might be drinking again. So give him beer after the game, man. No, I'm just kidding. No disrespect.
No disrespect if you have an alcohol problem.
Yeah,
right?
No, come on, it's a joke.
But listen, again, we talked about the same thing you want on this show. Nobody gives a shit.
It's a joke.
But with CeCe though, I think that you're right, and he's having a good year. But CeCe's old. Then Tanaka,
CeCe's on a walk
CeCe's on a walk year.
So
right. Will they let him walk? They might.
I don't think they keep him. I think even if he pitches, let's say he goes 15-5, I still think you have to let him go.
Right.
Because of his age.
Now, the funny thing about baseball I think is hyper-regional.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you were to say, I'm not a huge football fan, but everybody knows who the quarterback to the Cowboys is.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows who the quarterback to the Green Bay Packers. Can someone from Green Bay answer the question, who's the starting pitcher on the Yankees? And I don't know if guys can do that.
Maybe the Yankees, because you either love them or hate them. They're like
I'll give you that.
They're like the Cowboys.
How about the Florida Marlins?
No.
Never.
No.
But can you name a Miami Dolphins player?
Oh, yeah.
So you see what I mean? So I think baseball has become so hyper-regionalized. I think that's for two reasons. Number one, I think it's the way the sport is made to begin with. And number two, no one's going to – well, there's probably 3 reasons. But number 2 is, I just kind of thought of this. This might be like a big breakthrough for me. If you're watching a national game on ESPN on a Sunday night, you're not watching like the fucking like – you're going to watch like the Marlins in an interleague game against the Seattle Mariners. The viewership is 0.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're going to watch it if it's the Yankees. You're going to watch it if it's the Red Sox. You're going to watch it if it's the Phillies. And it's the same markets because they need the viewership. Are they ever going to say, well, let's really, really work hard to develop the fucking Arizona Diamondbacks viewership? I don't know if ESPN, who's already in the toilet to begin with,
exactly,
they're fucking ready to push up daisies. Are they ever going to do that? And I think the other thing is the problem is you have a lot of international players playing on these teams, so there's no name recognition.
Not
or
anymore.
like if you saw a guy, like maybe if you saw like Chapman from the Yankees, you would you'd recognize. If you saw Mariano, you'd recognize him.
Sure.
Right? I don't know if you saw an international player, because now they have all these international developmental leagues, and they say 50 to 60% of the players are from Latin America.
Yeah, that's the way it is, and that's the way it's gone.
Right.
That route. Yeah, especially now that we open up Cuba again.
Sure.
You're gonna have Cuban players coming over, and
these guys are superior baseball players. And you have to say
they're just phenomenal players.
The Dominicans too, man.
The Dominican players are sensational.
I go down there all the time, so baseball fields.
Right.
Baseball fields
And these teams are building developmental facilities down there. And you say to yourself, well, what are they doing down there? And as a coach of a youth sport, what are they doing down there that makes these guys better players and that we're not doing up here? I think one of the things is desire on their end. Like, we're poor as shit.
I'll be honest with you, and this might not be a popular opinion, but I don't have kids, so
sure.
I can't. You might say, well, who the hell are you? You don't even have kids, but just from observing and seeing it, this country's coddled.
I agree with that.
You coddle the kids. Everything ends in a tie. Everybody gets a trophy.
I agree with that.
Participation
I fucking
trophies.
hate trophies.
Okay, down there, like you said, you got to fight for everything.
Yeah.
Kids are playing barefoot. Kids are playing with a glove made out of cardboard.
Yeah.
And
Mariano Rivera, man.
Right. And I might be exaggerating a little bit, but the bottom line is, the hunger is there.
Sure.
They have a goal. They want to get out of there and come to America and play in the pros.
Right, and make money.
Kids today, they're playing baseball. Yeah, they might want to make it to the pros, but at the same time, they want to do Snapchat. They want to, play Pokemon.
That's a major problem.
Play, get on their phones and whatever. And listen, I'm just as guilty of it too. Like, I'm on my phone all.
Sure.
We all are. It's the way of the world now.
The speed of baseball, and I look at it more in softball because my daughter plays softball, is a slower game. Mm-hmm. So you have to have somebody who wants to play a slower paced game, and we lose a lot of players.
It's the attention span
to
syndrome.
lacrosse,
right?
And you're never going to see like a fucking professional lacrosse game. I don't even know if we have professional lacrosse teams anymore. I mean, at one point there was like a team in Philadelphia or whatever that. You're never going to see that. So kids play lacrosse, and then kind of like that's like the end of like the. If your kid has a goal that they want to move beyond, to play at a higher level, about 5% of the kids who play youth sports in high school will play in college. Mm-hmm. Is it because there's less colleges and high schools? I think that's probably one reason. But is it also that it's so watered down where kids no longer want to play softball or baseball? They want to play lacrosse, or worse yet, they want to play on their fucking phone.
Right, and that's what it is. I think that it's a lot of it too. That's why viewership's down with baseball, because baseball's slower.
Right.
Again, going back to the whole, everybody wants stuff fast, quick.
Sure.
And when you're not getting that, watching a baseball game, if you're not a diehard baseball fan, it's boring.
See, I like because I get to take a little rest, and it's like if you've been working hard all day, you turn on fucking Yankees, maybe you watch the first couple innings, maybe you doze off a little bit, you come back again, what I mean?
Whereas hockey or football or even basketball, there's it's a lot more action, and I think kids don't want to maybe play a boring sport, which I still think baseball's still my favorite sport.
Me too.
When I say boring, I'm only saying that's what how people are describing it, how I'm hearing it.
It's the perception of what the sport has. I Uber a couple of nights a month. I think it's just a great way. I get to talk to a lot of people. It's fun. I do it in Princeton where I feel very safe and confident that there's no issues. I picked up one guy who was the athletic director of a large high school.
Okay.
And he said the number one problem that he has is the lacrosse coach will see that there's a softball player that can run fast. And will go to that softball player and say, I really want you to play on my lacrosse team. You're going to get to run around a lot. It's constant action. They say, well, it's a lot more fun than I don't even know what the fuck I have to do with this stick. I have no clue. But I get to run around a lot, and it's a lot more fun than maybe playing baseball or playing softball or doing whatever it is like that. 'Cause maybe I'm spending more time on the bench, or maybe the ball's never hit to me.
Yeah.
I don't look at it that way. I look at it as a real skill. And if you take the time to learn the skill of baseball. And I think that guys in Latin American countries, once they have that opportunity, they grasp onto that. Here, everybody gets a fucking trophy.
Yep.
The kids don't know what it means to lose. They eventually do find out what it means to lose. I think it's devastating to them as they get a little bit older. They're like,
there's no adversity growing up, and that's the problem.
It's not a tie.
No, yeah, and the thing is, this might be cliche, but you build character by losing.
You're right.
You face adversity.
You're absolutely right.
If everything's given to you, and if everything is okay, and everything is, we want to make you happy.
Sure.
That's nice, but guess what? When you're in a real situation where you're not going to win, how the hell are you going to handle that?
I was involved in a softball league, youth softball league, and I was always against participation trophies. Like at every fucking meeting, I would say, I don't want blah blah blah. I'm always against it, right? Mm-hmm. So, of course, the president of the league thought it was fucking funny. He put me in charge of ordering all the trophies. So I had to order all these trophies, including the participation trophies. Ugh. I fucking refused to order them. I said, I'm not ordering any trophies.
You know what? I would have ordered them and had them engraved. Congratulations, you didn't win.
You know what I mean?
Just had them.
It was aggravating that he thought. He actually called me during the podcast, which I think was pretty fucking funny. But I said, and I texted him. I said, I'm having a podcast. I'm going to talk about Steve a little bit too. This is a man that's knows everything about softball. He's top fucking notch coach, and he can make you a great. He can make you a great softball. He can make Pico a great softball player. He can make me a great softball player. He's one of those guys that he has that ability. Right. And I think at the end of the day, though, by giving out these participation trophies, you don't know how to lose. It's okay to lose.
It's important to lose.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's important. It builds character, and it builds it. You learn how to deal with adversity.
Right. Sure.
So,
and that's the end of that. So now, if we wanted to see you, we know you're in Bristol.
Bristol, April 29th.
Where are you after that?
Right now, I don't have a lot going on show-wise. I
may need you to write material for me.
Whatever you need, man. I'll give you my fees.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. So
let's plug it. Be Dan's friend on Facebook.
Yep, you could be. And Social Mime on Twitter. That's the word social _MIME. Social Mime on Twitter.
Do you like Twitter better than Facebook?
I do.
Okay.
Only reason being because Facebook, sometimes I think if you write a joke, not that people give you courtesy likes,
sure.
Twitter, it's strangers. Yeah. So if they like it, they must have liked it.
So Twitter, it goes out to the Twitter universe.
It goes to everybody.
So everybody on Twitter,
anybody on Twitter that's following me now, if one of your let's say you're following me,
right?
But Pico wasn't.
Sure.
So now you retweet me, and Pico's following you. He'll see my tweet from
sure.
me.
So retweet Dan, and more people will see you.
Exactly.
Or Social Mime.
Right. Exactly. And that's how I got a couple. Like, it's funny when like a verified account follows you,
sure,
which is like a celebrity or somebody that's in the public eye.
Right.
It's like, okay, why the hell did they choose to follow me for? Like, what?
That's awesome.
But it's funny. Like I had the other.
Who was one that shocked you? Because we're going to talk for a little bit more because Pico went out to have a cigarette and I don't know how to hit stop. So
Ricky Bell from New Edition.
Get out of here. Like Belle Biv DeVoe?
Belle Biv DeVoe.
Oh, my God. Not Motown Philly. That was This Girl Is Poison, yes, right? Oh, yeah, there you go, right?
Ricky Bell started following me, which I thought was funny.
What is Ricky Bell fucking doing?
You know what it is? They just did a New Edition biography on, I think, I forget what channel it was, but they had so I think he was trying to get followers to plug it.
So he's coming to you, and then you're going to retweet him potentially.
Right.
But
I think he's only following like 800 people, and I'm like one of them.
Oh my God.
It always makes me wonder, like, I've had a couple.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's like, what?
Have you tried to reach out and be like,
nah, I don't want to do, like, I want to play it cool, like, yeah. You should follow me. Come on, man. Come on. What are you doing? But
who else is like that just shocked the shit out of you?
What's the hell's his name? What was the name of the TV show? Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
Oh my God, I haven't heard that in
Corey Nemick liked one of my tweets the other day, which is, like I said.
Where'd he come from?
I have no idea, and I don't even know. I don't know why. But it's. I think I had one of the actresses from the new Saved by the Bell follow me.
Sure.
Like I said, it's not nobody current,
but that's okay.
It's still like it's people that, but it's not even so much. That I'm sitting there like, hey, I'm like, what the hell made you follow me?
Yeah.
It's like, but
that's fascinating.
It's funny.
I want to like tweet because I'm not a tweeter or Twitter or whatever the fuck it's
called.
Well,
I got news for you. Not even so much for tweet, but Twitter is the best source for news, breaking news.
Yeah, I've heard
Not
that.
even kidding. Like that Cleveland shooting yesterday,
that's craziness.
That tragic shooting. It was on Twitter, and Twitter was doing a better job covering it than the networks, CNN, MSNBC, Fox.
You don't even need those guys anymore. You really, truly don't.
You pop on Twitter, you'll get better updates.
Do you ever follow Peterson's breaking news and Trenton News? You can learn more about the city of Trenton and breaking news. And by the time the people at the Trenton Tony and Trenton Times wake the fuck up and do a report, this guy's already been there, done that. He's posted it, and I like to get him on the show. He's outstanding.
Yeah.
And I don't know his whole story or whatever the case may be, but he's very, very good.
Yeah.
And that's like we were. I think Pico and I were talking about that. Guys who are like they follow like these news stories and they follow these things. So you're right. You don't need it. You don't need the public news. You could get all your news from Twitter. And you get all your nonsense from the Ray Agliata show.
Exactly.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks for having
you
me,
were
man.
wonderful. It was awesome. Thank you very much. Pico, you have to hit stop. We kind of kept this going longer than we should have, only because we don't know how to hit the stop button. So
that's cool.
we appreciate Ray Agliata Show.